Hey everybody, this is Nate with the podcast here of the DFW AV Club. I'm here with my good buddy, the captain of the Electric Starship. That's good old Captain Mike Woods. How are you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I am doing good. You might know it sounds a little bit different as of recent. I have gone to a new microphone, so we're going to see how well this has been working out as we can all be heard.
I like how as soon as you dial down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the air conditioner kicks on, the heater kicks on.
Of course, that's the way how it works.
Big wind there, but it still sounds. It's probably going to be clearer than it is in the room that we're normally in.
Oh, most definitely. Roger is with us today. He's going to be joining us here in just a few moments. He's just imbibing his alcoholism.
Yeah, it's a beer run. We got a little beer run for Roger.
Figured I'd go ahead and do a new little segment to the podcast today. I will be doing my usual beers throughout the podcast. Today's Coors Light.
It is a Coors Light day. You should see this lineup, folks. He's got several just right in a row here.
Hey, so good old silver bullets.
Going through the chrome bullets right now.
Exactly. All right, well, how about this? It's your ship. How about you get us started off there, Captain?
Well, today we're going to be talking about arcades, which, not just my arcade, the arcade that we're, broadcasting out of, the Electric Starship arcade, but just arcades in general, and the way they were back in the 80s and 90s, more specifically. So, we have several subjects to talk about today, different arcade chains, arcades in the mall, the way arcades were up in the front of stores, and then, multiple different categories for everything.
Oh yeah, definitely in general, like not only just arcade machines in general and games that you like to play, but everybody remembers that arcade machine, the one arcade you can never forget. In fact, we were just talking about one before the actual podcast started.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
It's just kind of getting back into the idea of what used to be the way to get your game on with everybody before consoles really started picking up, before you got your multi-tabs, your multi-connectors and everything. Wonderfully, Roger's finally going to be joining us here.
Roger, what are you dialing in here? What you got on the beer train?
I'm keeping it simple with the Yingling for now.
Chrome bullets and Yinglings today, folks.
Yeah, because I saw the other ones, I want to try them, but it's a weekday, so I want to make sure.
I figured we start off the podcast by saying what we're drinking now.
What we're drinking? Hey.
Kind of giving off an idea of anyone who dares to join us who is of age can knock back a few with us as we
there you go.
ramble on about it.
It's a great idea.
I'm all for this. Why am I thinking it sooner?
I hear you. Hopefully, if we can get in with certain drinking companies, so we might be talking more about craft beers than anything else.
A little sponsorship.
Martin House.
We want to sponsor. We want to sponsor.
Yeah.
Well, and we're not saying we want to sponsor, but if they
I'm
want
saying
to,
I want to sponsor.
I'm saying it out loud.
Well, he's going to say it.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to BS everybody. I'm going to be honest with you. All right, so how about you kick it off with your first category there, Captain Mike?
I want to talk about what arcades did you go to when in your earlier years. Now, I am in my 40s. You guys are in your late 20s, early 30s. Where y'all at?
Oh, you think we're in our 20s still.
I'll take that any day.
Mid-30s.
Mid-30s. All right, good.
Mid-30s.
So that's great. So obviously you had some arcades experience in the 90s.
Most definitely.
The 90s was more your run, right? They're more your wheelhouse. I would have been being born in the 70s, the late 70s, but I would have been more of a mid to late 80s through the early 90s kid. So I'm gonna be more on the tail end of the Pac-Man era after the video game collapse in '83.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be where my arcade starts picking up is around that 86 mark, where you guys are probably in the 90s mark. So you're well into fighting games. This is before fighting games were invented, basically, for me. So
by the time I was able to finally run around arcade by myself, Street Fighter was just picking up. We got the first lady of the fighting game, Chun-Li.
There you go.
That's when everything started kicking off.
Big.
That was our age on
right,
that there.
so
that's what we grew. That's
when I was riding my bike to the arcade, where my bike got stolen, by the way.
No.
There was an arcade in East Lancaster in Fort Worth, which if you just said that around Fort Worth, I'm like, ooh, what were you doing riding your bike in East Lancaster?
That's why it gets bad now. That's why I got stolen.
Yeah, so there was what was called a newsstand. For people that don't understand what that is, that's a place where you went and picked up magazines and newspapers. For people that don't know what that is, it's like stacks of paper stapled or folded together with pictures and words on them.
Be careful.
For people that don't know what... No, I'm just kidding. Anyway.
You get ink on your hands, careful.
You get dirty hands playing with magazines and newspapers.
Sunday had the colored funnies.
That's right. That's
Always.
right.
It did. It really did.
Absolutely. So I went to this newsstand that had obviously newspapers and magazines and stuff, but they had a little arcade, a little in there, and that one was my first it's not an arcade chain, but that was my first experience of like going to an arcade, riding my bike to it, and that not my first, but one of the ones I remember. And I was playing like Roston and RoboCop and stuff like that.
There we go. See?
One of my first arcade memories before that, like other than Chuck E. Cheese, obviously, and Showbiz Pizza, those
Charles
were,
Entertainment Cheese.
Charles Entertainment Cheese. And I forget what Billy Bob. I think his last name might have been Broccoli or something, because the guy's last name that ran it all was that last name Broccoli. So
I want to say it was.
Anyway, something like that. Anyway, those arcades. Obviously, I went to those a few times as a kid. As a poor kid, you didn't go very much, but the
back then you just had to pay quarters or nickels.
Oh my god!
Another arcade
Tokens.
I went to.
Hey.
There was a non-chained arcade that was kind of a mom and pop. Someone opened a. So this is going to be very Inception, like hat on top of a hat on top of a hat kind of thing. So in the 80s, there was a throwback place that was like a 50s soda shop where you got milkshakes and stuff done.
Oh, it's like a little malt shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it was like
soda
that little
jerk.
malt stop. Yeah, but and then that was actually a retro place back then in the 80s that I went to, and they had an arcade. Yeah, I know, it's a lot of levels. They had an arcade in it, and it had a Punch-Out machine, like for Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, the Nintendo Punch-Out.
I had to use my hands? That's a baby's game.
Yeah, it's a baby's game, exactly. That was the first time, as a very young child, I'm probably 5, 6 years old, maybe, when I see this. It was the first time I saw that when you put your initials in, you could cuss. You could put ass in there.
Oh, yeah.
Like I always do.
And to this day, folks, if I ever play Punch-Out anywhere, I always put the initials ass. Even though it doesn't matter. I got the number one spot. It doesn't matter. I'm putting ass in your Punch-Out machine.
You will do it.
So
They started censoring that later on.
anyway, yeah, some games they absolutely censor that.
I tried that on Marvel's Capcom over here, and it just like puts cap. Like,
Cap, yeah.
So now I have to put
Big Buck
ASs.
Hunter will censor you too if you put something dirty in there.
So now you just put like ASZ
As yeah. So anyway, that's just a few of my non-chain places. Do y'all remember going to a chain arcade, like one that there was multiples of?
It was the GameWorks.
GameWorks.
Yeah,
was a
GameWorks.
great
'Cause
one.
the closest one that we had would be the one at Grapevine Mills Mall.
Grapevine Mills Mall.
Which is no longer there. It is now an aquarium.
It
Yeah,
is.
it's an aquarium.
It's a sea life aquarium.
It's not so bad. I've been there once. It's actually
Yeah.
nice.
So if you watch our YouTube channel, the Electric Starship YouTube channel, there's me and Dave and Galen went to round one,
Yeah.
which is the big chain arcade in there now.
Yeah.
Not nearly as cool as GameWorks, folks. He's on to something here. That was a fantastic place. Look it up on YouTube if you don't know what it is.
Story also.
It was. It might have been multiple story. Like it might have had like little levels of stories.
I'm pretty sure it was. But
I know the
definitely 2-story, maybe
Well,
3.
yeah.
Who knows? But but if you watch that YouTube channel, we went to round one, and we actually go to that aquarium in that video. So
I think I said this used to be the GameWorks.
used to be a GameWorks. Now I'm looking at a piranha or some shit.
That's a pretty cool fish.
Yeah, that is a cool fish.
He's that fish.
He's that fish.
Anyway, so GameWorks. What about you, Roger?
Well, as far as chain goes, that's the only one. But my favorite one I went to when I was a kid, it was like a hole in the wall, same thing. You'll know it. Right over here off of Mid Cities.
Oh, I think I know this.
It's they just opened up. It's called Nickel Mania.
Yep.
Yes,
And
Nickelmania was great.
I wish they had more of that because
Yeah.
it was just simple. Mom, dad, Friday night. Say, hey kids, you can use entry fee. It was like, do they have an entry fee?
yes, they had an entry fee.
Okay, that's why I never really thought about it because I was like maybe.
Well, it's because
7, 8.
they had ticketed machines, so they have a prize counter, so they have to charge you admission, so they can afford the
prizes.
$2 bear that would cost you $20 to get.
Right.
That makes sense. That makes
Exactly.
sense. And so we would go there, like, every other Friday. Sometimes on Saturdays. Well, of course, Dad had to make sure if you got your grades up, you can go.
That's
of
right.
course,
Yeah.
sisters, they got their
It was
grades.
a reward.
It really, it definitely was. And
When I worked for Chuck E. Cheese, if you got straight A's and run your
I
report card,
remember that, yes.
you got tokens.
do
for
they still
your-
do that? Is that still
I don't know if they
I
still
don't know.
do.
I think you just show up with your report card and check it out.
Just
like
like,
us, like 40-something.
Oh,
I'll
God.
show up with my report card, like, yo, bro, I want some extra tokens. What's up?
It's like, here you go, man. I was like, if I show up there with mine, like, dude, you're in college. What are you doing this for? I just want to tell I'm passing.
I'm
That's
gonna,
right.
I'm gonna bring my yearly review that I get at work. It's like, look,
Okay.
I passed my review. I get to keep my job.
Absolutely.
They'll probably just give me 5 tokens and tell me to fuck off.
They probably will. It's like, dude, he's been here every day. But yeah, Nickel Mania, it was really fun because it was before the Top Casa was there, it used to be Dairy Queen, and you know, I feel like it was like a really bad ploy because you know if you go before or after, you just hop up with sugar, and then you just go to the Nickelmania.
Nickelmania, yeah.
And then you just burn yourself out.
I went to that Nickelmania a few times, my teenage years actually, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I loved it because when I saw Simpsons, when you brought it here, like that literally took me back.
Oh,
Cause,
yeah.
like, you know, cause every time I get nickels, I would always play the Simpsons game.
Sure.
Like, my sisters got mad, like, stop wasting your quarters, play the games that give you tickets. So we can,
Right. She wanted prizes.
Oh yeah, she wanted to pull it together.
She was endorsing the future of kiddie casinos, basically. It's like sort of Chuck E. Cheese's.
They were.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No,
that's probably why they never grabbed me for the ticket. I always played all the fun games and never played because I'm not a gambler.
Right, yeah.
Well,
So-
well, that's where I came. They're like, I'll gamble or something.
It didn't feel like gambling as much as it felt like using up all your tokens to get something you could bring home with you.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the same thing as gambling.
Which
You
is
use up all your money to bring home more money.
I mean, it kind of works, but I'm just like, yeah, no.
Oh, it totally works because Chuck E. Cheese would be completely out of business if it
God.
didn't.
Don't
So
even ask me to go there.
So chains, when I grew up, just really quickly, we had Tilt. So we had Tilt.
Right here, Northeast Mall.
Yeah,
The Tilts were a mall chain. So if you went to Parks Mall, you went to Northeast Mall, you went to Six Flags Mall. I actually worked in the Tilt and Six Flags Mall. I wish I worked in the famous Tilt in North Richland Hills and the Northeast Mall, because that thing was amazing with a big broken pirate ship inside.
So it was a boat,
It was a boat, yeah.
And it had like animatronic things that when you shot targets, they would move, kind of.
Yeah.
And it looked, they looked jank, but it looked like if you rode the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, they're just all running in a circle, or a spittoon is banking off of something, or a bird goes, squawks or whatever.
Now, if you go to Northeast Mall, you wouldn't even know it's there anymore.
No, it's turned into like
because it's now a hatchet throwing. It's a hatchet throwing where the entrance used to be, and the other entrance where it became later on is now the academy for the hair college.
Hair college. Yeah. So Tilt was a big one in malls. Now, if you were, people up north, if they're listening to this, they're going to think of other chains and stuff. We had Time Out was one. Now this is going to be a late '70s, early '80s one, and then we had one called Aladdin's Castle. Now Ridgemar Mall had Aladdin's Castle, and this is kind of Aladdin's Castle was kind of, I liked that odd name, and that's why I came up with the Electric Starship. I liked that double odd name there.
Yeah, it worked.
I like it. It's
caught
fun.
me off guard. Like, Starship, okay.
What was cool about Aladdin's Castle's tokens, and tokens is a whole nother subgenre subject here, because a lot of arcades didn't run on quarters. You changed your dollar in and you got tokens. And, this was a great ploy because they got your money and you got a piece of brass. You didn't get any money back.
You didn't cash, right. I'm sure it was easier for them to carry around wads of dollars than it was to get those big old laundromat
sacks of quarters,
brass, big old sleds of quarters.
So the token for Aladdin's Castle actually had kind of an odd shape, like an old token you would piece of money you would get from overseas somewhere, and it had an Aladdin's genie lamp on the Aladdin. We have some resin into our bar over there.
If you look closer, you can probably find it.
If you ever come to the Electric Starship, when you go up to the bar when you're getting your beer and grabbing your wristband, the entire top is done up with little tokens with the Starship symbol. You've got a Pac-Man on it.
Yeah, we use the tokens to kind of design bigger shapes and stuff. But if you look down, the tokens are all tokens from arcades from all over the U.S.
Discovery Zone tokens.
Yeah, there's
that we always get.
There was a guy named Chris. He dropped off a sack full of DZ tokens, and those got laced throughout the bar for sure.
I mean, I remember DZ Discovery Zone.
So mall chains were Tilt, Aladdin's Castle, Time Out, and there's probably 300 more that I don't know of. But those were the ones that I had some experience in and thought were really, really cool.
Right.
Your standalone chains where you're obviously your Showbiz Pizza and your even Discovery Zone's a good one too. Come to think of it,
another good one was
Chuck E. Cheese.
Was Mr. Gaddy's.
Oh yeah, Gettyland is what they would call it in some places.
Oh, that's right.
Because they had pizza, they had an all-you-can-eat pizza bar, and then they had arcade games, so you can entirely get. Some of the bigger ones actually had the little bumper cars in it.
That's true.
I remember that.
Cool.
I remember
driving past over in West Texas, the Midland Odessa area, they had a Mr. Gaddy's that was opened up to I think maybe about 7 years ago, and then finally closed.
Oh man, that's sad.
One of my favorite Mr. Gaddy's and favorite little mini arcades, because this was just a Gaddy's Pizza that was in my neighborhood. And when we were in middle school, And after football games in middle school, we would go to Gaddy's. And it was really cool. It was all wood grain inside. And you would take a step up into a little pathway, and it had like 4 or 5 games just lined up. And that Alien Syndrome we have with the cool pink topper, that was in there. And so that one I hunted for specifically because of that arcade memory there. So, where'd you go to? Did you play more? And Nickel Mania, you mentioned that. That's a standalone place. And I love that place too.
Oh, yeah.
And for those that don't understand is the games all of a sudden, instead of being a quarter, were a damn nickel. And so when you got a stack of nickels, man, you could play
save your nickels instead of buying the nickels.
I mean, you're getting basically 5 games for the price of one. You know, so you get a roll of nickels, you could go all day. You know, that thing that's a lot of games.
Any change you'd go.
Because used to be, my parents would give me like $5.
Yeah,
and that was the quarters for that.
Right.
But then when you turn that $5 into nickels,
you're the king of the world.
Oh yeah,
you're Ricky Schroeder riding around on a little. Did y'all ever watch Silver Spoons? He had a tiny little train that went through his house. You're rich all of a sudden. You're nickel rich.
But that's the one thing I don't think a lot of kids will really get is the fact that you're going to go to the arcade. Your parents find dandy. This is before cell phones, so they'll tell you, don't use all your quarters on the arcade. Save some.
You gotta have a couple of quarters.
The
payphone.
For the payphone.
Yeah. The payphone. There's a thing called payphones, guys. Before cell phones were a thing, there was a payphone.
Yeah,
it was just random places.
3-year-olds didn't have an iPhone in their pocket, so they had to. The 3-year-old that got dropped off had to find a step stool, and maybe stacks the phone book, another thing that's archaic and doesn't exist anymore.
Man, we got lucky over there because for Nickel Mania, because my sisters, they had friends in school that part-time, they would work there. And so, my parents would tell us, hey, get ready, we're going to take you guys to Nickel Mania. So, my sisters, we're scrounging for nickels anywhere we can find, so we get ready. Because obviously, once again, if you don't have any coins, you can't really use the payphone. Thankfully, it's like, hey, my friend works here, so, so they would just call mom and dad.
There you go.
So before, we kind of had, the first cell phones.
They didn't give you, okay, so.
Well, Dad had a cell phone, but the thing was, he didn't really use it. It was more, you're going to notice when y'all, the beepers. It was always the beepers.
Oh, yeah, I got a beeper, pager, beeper,
yeah. The beeper, the pagers, so we wouldn't have to, thankfully.
Text messaging before cell phones.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
We didn't even have those. It was just the number popping up.
Right.
We didn't have, the text on the beeper yet. So I was like, hey, sister would
I
call
still have
Dad.
a black book somewhere.
There you go.
I still have a black phone number book somewhere.
That's awesome.
My mom still has hers, and the thing's a diary, pretty much.
Oh,
it's
just
full of old phone numbers. I'm like, goodness. I could probably find numbers that dating all the way back to the doctor that checked me when I was born.
Oh, God.
Yep. Slapped you on the backside. So here you go. Get into the world, son.
So and I'm glad you said that, Rogers. You have friends that, you said you have friends that work there. I got lucky because when my cousin moved in with me, one of his friends he made in high school started working at Chuck E. Cheese. So we went there one day, and he didn't give a damn about the job. The job was just keeping his parents out of his hair, getting a little bit of money, but he didn't give a shit about anything else. So when I would get there, they used to have the Jurassic Park game, the one that had the moving seat.
Oh my God!
Pocket seat.
I've been looking for this game forever. There's one in Arizona right now, and the lady wants $3,800.
Oh!
And I'm like, if it was $3,800 in here, I'd feel like I had a little something.
Yeah.
The fact that I got to go to Mesa, Arizona, to pick this thing up,
Jesus,
whole nother ball game. And it's heavy as hell. It's full of hydraulics and all kinds of crap. I uncrated that game at Chuck E. Cheese. I opened the box for that at our Chuck E. Cheese.
If I had the
awesome.
money, here's $1,000, Mike. I'll get as part of it. Let's go to Arizona.
I know. We need a road trip, boys. I know where one's at. We need it in the Starship, baby.
If I had the money for this, you know what? Let's do this, Mike. Let's make it happen. Here you go. We're taking a road trip.
Everybody on the drop pod, we're going.
Anyway, back to your story, Richard.
So I got lucky in the fact that since he worked there, they didn't give a damn about what he did. As long as they had an employee to fill a spot that they can, make some money off of an employee being there. I would go sit at the Jurassic Park machine, and kids would sit there with their tokens ready to play. But I had the in, so he would go in there, pop the coin drawer, and just slap the thing 40 times. So I have all these credits. Close it up because they didn't keep record on the money coming through the machines, and I'd be sitting there until I died.
Yeah. And it starts, and the 2 T-Rexes come out. Oh, it's so great.
You felt the seat just bumping and going crazy.
Heck yeah, dude.
There's a line at Chuck E. Cheese for that run.
I used to make kids mad because when I played, I had 40 credits. So
you're never getting up for the credits roll, baby.
I was like, next thing he died. Yeah, he died. And I was like, just boop.
Get your foot off the edge. It's gonna stop rumbling. You gotta have those little markers to keep you from getting hurt.
You see a couple kids trying to crowd it just because they're like, no, get off.
Get off, punks.
So many employees come up.
Good
like,
days.
Look, you gotta get off. You can't be doing this. Like,
So we talked a little bit about arcade chains, and we talked about arcades in the mall. Are you old enough to remember when arcades were in the front of literally every kind of restaurant, every kind of store, the grocery store?
Grocery for sure, like Sack and Save.
I don't know how much this works,
Look,
and it might be a culture thing, and it's kind of weird in the fact that if you ever go to like a down home kind of kitchen restaurant, it's always like used to be a storefront, now it's a kitchen.
Right.
But I'm Mexican, if you couldn't tell from the pictures, and every time we go to a Mexican restaurant,
Mexican?
Yeah, it's
my
weird.
God.
Isn't
I
it?
don't believe it.
You're an Asian guy.
I thought you were. Yeah, nobody's gonna know if Roger's Asian or Mexican or not.
That's
Could be Asian
very
too.
hard to
We never
believe.
know. But so a lot of the hole in the wall places, they would just find anywhere they can find a place that they can open up a restaurant. And there was a place down Dallas called Adetas, and inside there, it used to be a convenience store.
Okay.
So it used to be this big, large, like kind of shopping center convenience store. So in the center where everything would be like the cash shops and all that, they opened up the door and they put the arcade in this spot because everything else was, of course, seating, and then the back was the actual cooking area, the kitchen.
Sure.
So right there in that little center spot, it was nice because all the families could keep an eye on where the kids were.
Right.
Everybody could easily be eating right there. It gave them an easy in for this is where they funnel people in to get them sat, and then it gave them a place where they can funnel them out to pay the cash amount back out the front door.
Sure.
So
Little circle. That's not too bad.
it was always the fact of going over there, hanging out with family, being told, eat. Once you're done with your food,
Then you
we'll
can go
give you
play.
quarters. Then we can go play.
Well, there you go. That's how
And
you do
it's
it.
and it's the way how it's been, with
Oh.
we had. I think we talked about this on the last podcast. Was Sack and Save always had arcade games in little entrance.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So that's where I first played the Die Hard arcade games.
Yeah.
And they always have. There was always the usuals. There was the grabber game.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Or the claw games.
Get some
They had a
claws
couple
in
of
there.
They had
Oh,
a
yeah.
couple of arcade machines, and then that was about the basics.
Gotcha. Roger, what about you?
Like for me, it was 3 places for sure. It was always the same 3 places. Right over here, like if you go a little further up, the laundromat, with by the Big Lots.
Oh, laundromats always had arcade games. You're going to be pissing around waiting on your clothes to get dry.
Yeah.
Oh,
at
yeah, 'cause,
night.
I would go with my mom. Sundays, mom she would go take the laundry there, but she would always get the quarters, for the machines. Like, it's like I'll try to be slick at this now. Like, all right, I want some quarters. Like, well, hold on, let me get the clothes first, and then see.
And load the
Yeah.
machine, see what kind of change we got left.
Exactly. That's what she would do. And then it would always be like, it was always the variety ones too, like the the Pandora box games. So
Okay.
it would all be like something like those, which I know exist at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, this game's got everything. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like at the time, like.
And
20
thus Roger's
games.
addiction to Street Fighter has begun.
Actually, so that one actually started right over at the Dollar Movie.
Oh,
Well, it used to be the Dollar Movie Movies 8 before
old
it became-
Cinemark Movies 8.
Oh yeah, because
Front Row Joe, that little cat.
oh my god.
We have actually some of those tokens in the token bar
That
up
took
there
me
too.
back,
I
was
think
like,
you
oh.
do, yeah.
Because I remember when I was being a kid, my cousins and my sisters.
Totally forgot about that place.
Dude, it's like
I
you
think I saw
walk
Jurassic
in,
Park there 50 fucking times.
You go to the
So
left,
cheap.
it's like little steps, and it would kind of go down. a
Step
little bit.
downward, yeah, and then it has the arcade in there. And that's where I first played Area 51.
Yeah.
Wow, that makes sense. Okay.
I remember that one, yeah. Yeah, then that's where, my cousin and I would play some Street Fighter. Well, of course, he knew the movesets, I didn't.
Sure.
So I'm like,
Slammy buttons.
I'm just like hoping for the best.
What games were in that center of Heredas? Is that what
So
it is?
it had an Indiana Jones pinball game.
Oh,
That's where it
that's
had-
rare and expensive now.
They had the Simpsons Konami beat 'em
Okay,
up. That's
yeah.
where I played that game a lot.
Sure.
It had a Mortal Kombat, I think 2.
Uh-huh.
It had a Mortal
Okay.
Kombat 2, and then it had an air hockey table, and it had one game that was always busted. It was the one that you never got to play because for as long as I remember going there, it was never working.
Sure.
Just
It was
out of
dead. I
order.
couldn't remember what it was off the
Gotcha.
top of my head, but it was the one that it was just the dead arcade machine.
Do you remember any games that were in that Cinemark?
Oh, so the Cinemark they had, it was one Wave Race. It
Oh,
was,
yeah, that's a
Street
good one.
Fighter. I think it
The
was
Dollar
like,
movie, right?
Huh?
Dollar Movie, yeah.
Yeah,
Dollar
so
Movie, yeah, the Dollar Movie, the
So
movie
yeah,
theater.
it had the Wave Race.
Had the-
It had a Mortal Kombat, a Street Fighter, an Area 51.
Oh, yeah, they had
It
hitters.
the,
That was
it
good
had
stuff.
it had the basketball games.
Sure.
And of course, they had a crane game too.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, 'cause that
I remember that one. I used to.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Very
for
cool.
sure. And then the third place I used to go to a lot was right over here at Route the CC's Pizza, and that's where that's
Baller.
where
CC's had baller games.
and And so
That's
we
right. I
had
played Rampage for the first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I saw Rampage. Holy shit! Like, did you get that from CC's? Because I legit thought because like that's.
I didn't get it from too far down. It was off of Roost Snow at the guy's house where I got it. So who knows?
You know, I'm willing to put some money. If this person's listening, where you got that, if he says CC's off Roost Snow, then that's the same one I
That's
played.
the same one we have in the Starship.
It's got to be the same one.
I love it.
Because that's what I played over there.
So you mentioned a few places. We're going to talk about Sack and Save. Now, I watched my niece and nephew, and this would have been late 80s, early 90s. Had to have been early 90s because we were listening to Janet Jackson's Black Cat album, whatever. Rhythm Nation. We listened to that on tape like every day because they wanted to.
Cassette tape, mind you.
And on VCR tape, we watched 89 Batman. So this was the time frame. Every day. Same music, same movie.
That was
and
the
then
first
whatever,
Batman?
yeah,
Joker.
yeah, 89 Batman. And we would walk to Sack and Save, and at the Sack and Save, they had a game called Ninja Warriors. Now, this is not a game that I know where anyone's got this game right now, but it had 3 monitors.
Yeah, we talked about
three
that.
19-inch monitors. So I played that there at that Sack and Save. We had a Walmart that was a bus stop, and this was before every Walmart was a super Walmart with grocery stores inside. This was just
Once
regular.
upon a time, Walmart used to be just Walmart.
Yeah, it used to be
super
Walmart.
Walmarts, and now they're just Walmarts again.
Yeah, then they have Walmart grocery marketplaces.
Walmart Market,
yeah. So when they were just
fancy.
regular markets, regular Walmarts with no groceries inside. Yeah,
Sounds
sounds weird.
The opposite.
Yeah, the ones with no groceries. Anyway, I used to ride the bus everywhere, and one of the bus stops to transfer to a different bus was at that Walmart. And you could go in, they had that pigskin football game, and they had Mortal Kombat 1. So you play those there. And then a tremendous CC's lineup. And I went to the CC's in Hirsch, so we used to go with our church. After church, we'd all go to CC's, right?
Yeah.
And the lineup was this, and this was a great lineup. And I'm not even naming all the games they had, but these are some of them they had. Spy Hunter. They had NBA Jam. They had Mortal Kombat 1. And they had Hydro Thunder. And then they had some crane games, too.
Yes.
Oh, and they had Ivan Stewart's Off-Road, the one with the 3 steering wheels. The ones we had.
Yeah.
So it was a killer lineup at CC's, and I mean, you same thing. What you do, hey, let's eat all our food. Let's have a pizza eating contest till we're about sick, and with the last remaining quarter, see if you can get a full game of NBA Jam.
Oh yeah.
See if you can blow off somebody's head with a Raiden one time, and then you're set.
We'll call it a day, man.
You're living life right at that point. But at that time period, in the 80s. Everything had an arcade machine in it. The old Pizza Huts had the cocktail style tables. You could sit your pizza on in your red cup with the soda in it.
The little Coca-Cola.
Yeah, and then with the Coca-Cola symbol on it, and the Tiffany lamps, kind of like the retro commercials like Craig C. Robinson's on right now. And we would sit and play Galaga and Pac-Man on the cocktail tables where your pizza's sitting on the machine, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So
the
laundromat, I played Galaga in our laundromat. I love
there you
that.
go. Yep.
So
So down 377, there's a burger box.
yeah.
And they had one of the cocktails that had the Mrs. Pac-Man.
I love it.
It had kind of like the one you've got, but I don't think it had the 8-ball in it.
Right.
I think it had
and
Mrs. Pac-Man and a little ball bouncing game between the 2 players. So that's one that I used to play over there. That's one I remember.
Do you guys have a favorite? It doesn't have to be your very favorite. Just a favorite that pops in your head from that time period. Arcade machine, not necessarily arcade, but an arcade machine.
I mean, coming right down to it, I have a lot of memories of every time when families used to be able to get together. And unfortunately, being old, that's one thing you kind of start losing. You don't get to see as much family anymore because they've either moved out, gone older, or unfortunately longer with us. So, and the restaurant has closed now. It's been closed for about over a decade now.
Sure.
But it was always thinking about it is every time I play the Simpsons game, I always smell the food in the air.
Yeah.
I'm still picking chips out of my teeth, and I'm sitting there trying to figure out how the hell do me and my cousin get Lisa and Bart to do that rolling around double move
to combine their powers, and roll around and scream. That game is notorious for in the demo mode, it just screams. We had it in our Chuck E. Cheese, and I can't tell you how many times I'd see like a single kid playing, and I was a game room tech back then.
Yeah.
And if I saw just one kid playing that game, I'd just go up and start feeding it my tester tokens and play with them.
Yeah.
So anyway, what about you, Roger?
For me, I would say it really the same thing with Nate. It's like not really a particular game itself, but honestly, I'll probably go back to Movies 8 and like over here off of Nickelmania because same thing when I see Simpsons. I just kind of go back to my second and third grade, just hanging out with my sisters and going to Nickelmania. Like them saying, "Hey, Mom and Dad are gonna take us to Nickelmania, so hurry up and put some shorts on. We're gonna go. So if you got some nickels, also get some nickels." So so we'd all try to hurry and get there as fast as we could. So every time I see that, I'm like, damn, like of course like I said, everyone's all grown up. Sisters, they got their own kids. Everyone's all moved out. So I'm like, every now and then I like to revisit those days. I'm like, damn, if we still had it here, oh man, I'll probably.
See, that's why I was happy when I saw that there's an arcade down here. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go get some memories.
Yeah.
And
the
what
memories are just rolling off the shelf.
It really was.
And I can drink while I do it now.
Yeah, now you can drink. At
least now you can be a big
I can make new memories now. This is great.
I'm gonna get loaded and try to play Bust a Move.
Right.
So I have two machines. And I'll tell the lesser story before I tell the older one. So in the 90s, when fighting games came about, I had my best friend who's in Georgia, and he's a great guy. He had a brother named Michael. Now Michael was not our best friend, and he was a little older than us, but he was a notorious compulsive liar. Oh. He would lie about everything. Oh. And you could never
honest
tell.
Mike and dishonest Mike.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And then slightly honest Mike and slightly terribly dishonest Mike. So,
terribly dishonest.
Yeah. So, my buddy Topher and his brother Michael. So me and Topher played Mortal Kombat and loved it. We were in love with it. We played it at that Walmart, everything. Couldn't believe Mortal Kombat 2 was coming out. But it's pre-internet. or very early stages of internet.
Right.
That really date me, right? There's no internet, folks. Can you imagine? The world's, what do you do? You gotta read a book. Holy
big
shit.
business only had internet. That's all I had.
Wait till we get to the card library inside.
Yeah. So, Michael supposedly has ridden the bus to the Tandy Center in downtown Fort Worth, and they have a Mortal Kombat 2, and this is the first time there's any report of this machine being out anywhere. And I don't know if it was a testing space or if it was just they happened to get it early or on time and we didn't know because we're dumb and lived in the hood, or I have no idea.
Yeah.
So he comes back off the bus and says, Mike, Chris, I played Mortal Kombat 2. And first thing out of our mouth is, bullshit. And it's like, no, seriously, let me tell you about it. And we said, if you start lying to us and we think that you're lying, we're going to beat you up. We're going to beat your ass right here in this parking lot. And he's like, no, for real, I played it. It's got a guy in it with blades on his arms. And I was like, bullshit, they would never do that. We're calling
You're making them up.
He goes, listen. It gets even crazier. They have these moves, they have fatalities and stuff too, and they're really gory and bright and the blood's everywhere. They got these moves where I swear I saw the guy, it's called a friendship, and he gave him a present at the end. I was like, dude, you're full of shit. I beat his ass, chasing him around, was slugging him in the arm, like, what are you doing? You're crazy. This is life. He goes, and then, listen, they turned the other guy into a baby, and they're like, oh, come on, you're full of it. There's no way.
You're fucking with us.
You're really messing with. Yeah, exactly.
Mortal Kombat would never do that.
And all those things were true, right? But we didn't believe any of them. And then, of course, as Michael always wanted to double down, and they uppercut to the baby, and the baby exploded. I'm like, all right, now we know. That was it. He did perform and throw in the lie as he normally would. But anyway, that was it. And the first time a magazine, we used to get the magazine.
Yeah.
And I have the magazine still in the back, if you guys want to see it, of the one I carried around with me that had all the moves, and it's so wrinkled and crushed up because I had it rolled up.
Oh, yeah.
And I put that magazine on the machine, and I would practice those moves. And I still have it. It's from, my brother Tate?
Yeah.
It's from 1 month before he was born.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Jesus. That's the date.
So that's an old beat-ass magazine that we got.
So it predates Tate.
It predates Tate by a month.
That's older than Tate.
My game of... I felt like I knew where every one of them in the Metroplex was that I absolutely loved. You know where Alleycats is now? That used to be where Malibu Grand Prix was, which was a... So, Alleycats kind of got the putt-putt and the go-karts now.
Yeah.
So, right down the street where the Kentucky Fried Chicken was, that about is where the putt-putt was. And then down the street where Alleycats is where Malibu Grand Prix was. And both of them have fantastic game rooms. And I got whole... stories on putt-putt and everything too, which is fantastic. But At the time, Malibu Grand Prix had a Vector Star Wars like the one that we have in it, and I think they might have had the cockpit version. That might be where I played the cockpit version, where you get inside and you feel like you're in the X-wing with those cool bright Vector graphics. I loved that game. I mean, I loved it, and I played it anywhere it was. And another place
playing it over here at yours every now and then.
I love that game. Yeah, it's still top fiver for me. Just one of my favorite old arcade games.
There you
go. And I've been decent at it for a long time. Tate finally got better at it and like took the top 3 spots. I can't even touch the score on it anymore. But
screw you, Tate.
Yeah, I'll just change it. I'll take it off the floor.
Just reset it.
Yeah, totally reset it. No, I never would do that, and he'll probably have the top 3 scores. But he fought for 20 years to knock me off the board. So God bless him. He hung in there.
He earned it.
He totally earned his 3 spots that I cannot touch at this point.
Dedication. Boop. Oh no, the game got reset. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry about your dedication. And anyway, so the other place to play that was in Six Flags. There was an arcade called the Boomtown Arcade, and this was in kind of like right on the edge where you go into the mini mine train and all that. And it's not there anymore. I hate to break that to you guys.
Mini mine train's gone?
No,
it's still there. We're
the Boomtown Arcade is gone. And it's so funny, last time I went to Six Flags, I was going to go show Cynthia this. I'm like, this is where I used to play Star Wars. I loved it, and I played it. I had just some coins. I knew I was going to Six Flags.
Yep.
I had to keep some coins in my pocket to play that game. Well, I went there, and they had wiped it out, and it's put fence up. But I was able to pull up, like Google Street Maps, and it works inside Six Flags. And if you went through it, they still had a picture of it, and I snapped a shot of that.
It's like, this is where you're going to be. This is what I'm going to show you.
This is where we're at, and it's not there anymore, but this is what it looked like. And anyway, I think that arcade had been closed down there multiple years, and it was more just backdrop.
Yeah, I think so.
Man, it was there a long time ago. I'll tell you a dangerous place that I used to play arcade games, other than that newsstand where my bike got stolen. Did you know when Hurricane Harbor, when I was a kid, it was called Wet n Wild?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you go to it when it was?
I did. I actually went to the arcade there once. About 2 hours after closing.
Oh, that's cool.
Because they had the front doors open, so they were letting people out the park, but they didn't stop you from going in because you can't go do anything anyways.
Right.
There were arcades. Now it's like a nacho stand or something, or maybe more lockers. They have tons of lockers now. But that arcade, if they didn't have those plugs grounded and stuff, you would touch it with your wet hands, standing in puddles of water, and just be like, a little touch.
Hold on, be right back. Let me dry my hands off real quick.
So, those are my arcade memories. I'll leave you with a couple of things to talk about because I got to go back over there. Yeah. But one of the things that I thought would be really cool is the first time you saw a huge set piece arcade. Like we're talking them big old Mamma Jammas. GameWorks is a perfect example of this, where they had an arcade that you strapped into and it went up and down the wall like you're shooting hot air balloons or some shit. I have no idea.
It's also an alien game. It was also an alien game.
Yeah.
Remember, like a line of kids just waiting.
Do you remember the rows of Indy cars?
That's right.
Did Interrock and everything?
Oh yeah.
There was also, you spoke of Wave Race earlier. They had 4 wave races set up and had like a big, giant sculpted wave coming over them. That was really cool.
I wanted to get that one, but I was like, nah.
So some really great. That's something for y'all to talk about. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna exit the podcast and let y'all take it out, man. And y'all can have my notes if you want those too.
Right. Sounds good.
I gotta get back over there at 7. I have no idea what these guys are doing. So
hope for the best. At least.
Okay, I don't smell smoke.
Holler at me when y'all leave. I'll lock it all up.
Sure thing.
Oh, definitely, man. Definitely.
Thank you so much.
We thank you, Mike. We gotta thank you.
Captain Mike is out.
All right. Well, hey, that was a good little trip down memory lane for me.
It still is. I mean, this is, like I said, the arcade podcast. So kind of continuing on.
Oh, definitely.
Going back to the set piece on. Definitely, because when we were growing up, GameWorks was the arcade.
Yeah,
it was the pricey arcade, and it was the cool arcade. And if you have an idea of where Mike's is, which is just here off of Denton Highway 377, it was at Grapevine Mills Mall, which is about a
20,
20-minute drive if you take the highway, 45 to an hour if you take the
access road.
26, because I don't like dealing with the highway and I'd rather deal with lights, because I get lucky and catch greens all the way.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you have like a slight highway phobia like I used to when I started driving, yeah. But now I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna take the fucking highway because like I don't have time for this. I want to get there. I want to get there, play my game.
Yeah, but you're also the guy that gasses it down the highway, just doing like 90 for no apparent reason.
Once again, you would have never believed me when I first started driving. I was so anxious. I would always do the speed limit. I never sped at all whatsoever.
He used to be a good driver.
I'm a good driver.
It's like everybody starts off as. You start off with, you get your driver's license, and you are the perfect driver for like a couple months, and then you finally get comfortable, and then you begin your driving style.
Well, at the time, like my ex-girlfriend, she got me comfortable with it. I was like, we're gonna take the highway. Please, no, I don't want to. Don't worry, I'm here with you. What happens next? Oh, God opened a whole new door. Now I'm gassing it. I'm over here pushing 100. I mean,
Roger's usually the one that drives to conventions, along with our buddy Jared. So
yeah,
because I don't like driving. I'm a very lazy person. I'd rather keep everybody awake and rambling the entire time.
Usually
works out the best way because I'm also the better navigator.
More or less, yeah.
But big set piece. I mean, like the one that Mike was talking about there with that big old honking. It jumped up like 2-3 stories, and then if you would miss something or lost a score, it would just drop you, and you used to pucker your butthole the entire time. But it was a fun game.
It was a quick drop too.
It wasn't a far drop. It was maybe a like 10-foot drop.
Yeah.
But it was enough to kind of just throw you off because you're concentrating on the game. Yeah. And the next thing you know, you're down 10 feet downwards.
Like it just felt so fast.
It was crazy. I tell you what. But and then I mean they had the wave race and then the NASCAR section. But I will say random games that are pretty cool in the fact would be so we went to the Texas Motor Speedway. If you're listening to this and you're not in Texas, we have the Texas Motor Speedway, which is one of the larger racetracks that they have around here. That they hold some of the Cup Series for NASCAR. I mean, we are in the South, so you got a couple of good old boys who love their NASCAR.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like right closer to Justin, Texas, which is maybe like 45 to an hour.
Heck, it's actually not too far going up the road from us because I mean you can just take either the highway and deal with traffic, or you can take 35 like you're driving to Cabela's. And just keep going up the road a little bit more, and then there you go.
Just hope for the best at least.
But inside the gift shop, because they have that little gift shop that's outside the actual racetrack.
Yeah.
There's it's like a history of NASCAR stuff. It's got a bunch of cool NASCAR gear. I bought a Dale Earnhardt number 3 collector's card from there, and I still have it. It's still in the box somewhere.
Which just makes from that.
Most definitely, since he's unfortunately no longer with us. But
good old Dale.
Inside there, they had a NASCAR simulator arcade machine.
Ooh.
And it was hardcore simulator, as in the steering wheel was weighted and controlled itself. So if you're like hard turning, it's going to pull against you like you're actually trying to grip on track.
Okay.
It is the hardest game that like 14-year-old me ever tried to play, because I'm sitting there trying to fight against the steering wheel as I'm trying to do a $150 down this corner. It's like, this ain't working out.
So,
and then the brake and the gas pedal, I think, kind of would push against you as well, as it's also trying to, the car's kind of kicking against you, but it was super cool.
There's no power steering, no gas, no brake assist. It's just, you had to use your whole leg.
But I think another cool one, and I'm sure definitely you'll remember this one, because we actually made a trip to round 1 for this. This would be the round 1 at the Arlington Mall.
Parks Mall,
Parks Mall. And that was the one with that little shooter game that you can connect the guns together.
Oh, it was Infinite something, I think.
It was, Infinite something, but I remember we took a whole trip over there because you're like, guys, guess what?
No, it was a Gunslinger Stratos.
Gunslinger Stratos, that's what it was.
Yeah. We could just dual-wield guns like,
I don't know, you were just like, guys, guess what? It went there. And if I don't know if anybody would not be familiar around one. It's probably one of the more known arcade places around here.
Yeah.
But if you're not familiar around one, it is a larger arcade venue they have nowadays. They don't run tokens.
No.
They don't run quarters. Everything runs off of a little card.
It's like a little.
So it's a little swiper. So a lot of the putt-putt does that now.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of places do it now. You buy the card, you
just fill up money.
Fill it with money, or I guess they're online. They're kind of electric tokens, credits.
Now. I call them tokens still.
So what it's known for is it has a lot of import games. It's got a lot of Korean, Japanese games. So it's so the one at Grapevine Mills that has the karaoke wall.
Yeah.
It's got the a bunch of the photo booths that they have over in Japan.
Those are
that's
really
where
prominent.
they have a lot of the Beat Mania drummer games and the other dancing one that you Jared got you recorded you playing. That was hilarious.
They got Dance Rush and
Dance Rush.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of those cool games, and it was just one of those. Is like when you go there. It's cool. It does cost money, but it's if you want to get a kind of a taste of an idea of what you see like in a Japanese arcade, in a sense, it's a good place to go.
Oh, definitely.
It's got some really cool stuff there. It's a little pricey. They do serve alcohol, but the beer is also pricey there. But again, they are a huge.
It's a big chain.
Kind of big chain around one there. I know Game Grumps has even talked about it because I know they have one over there in California where they're based out of.
Oh yeah,
we've got a couple down here.
Yeah, we went to the one in California a while back. It's nice. It's kind of it's like what you expect.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like when you go. It's like if you go to like Disney World and then you come back and you go to Six Flags, you realize that how junky and dirty your place is over that there.
More.
I'm sure that their place is a little bit more cleaner than the one over here is.
Oh yeah. Oh definitely. It's like, for me, I kind of think of Round One as like a cheaper version of Dave and Buster's.
I have never been to Dave and Buster's.
I've only been there once. It's not
I
bad.
don't even know if it's Dave and Buster's. I think it's like It's or whatever it is now. It's a new name on. Well, the ones I know of that used to be Dave and Buster's are no longer Dave and Buster's.
Right. Yeah,
it's some other one. I forget what they're called. I think it's or something. I'll have to look it up again.
Well, the one over here in Alliance by 35. Last I checked, I think it's still Dave and Buster's because I remember I went there 4 or 5 months ago. It's probably, I'm not gonna lie, it's been a little
probably been longer than that.
I'm pretty sure
these last 2 years have shot by. To be fair,
I really don't know anymore because the time really kind of varies.
Time threw off on us. We hit that wonderfully weird time warp zone with.
Well, we're in an area where time forgot. Really,
I think everywhere in the United States was able where time forgot just because of everything that's going on.
More or less.
But I digress.
Too hard on it.
But I think one I would love to try out, and it was one that we were talking about once. Mm-hmm. We were actually at Acon talking about it because we were in the our buddy Q is usually always in the arcade room. He either works it or you usually find him there at the convention. And in the arcade room, they have a bunch of consoles set up.
Oh yeah.
They usually have Smash tourneys, fighting game tourneys. They usually have the dancing game set up because when you pump enough alcohol and a bunch of weebs and nerds, someone's going to dance. There's going to be dance. And there's going to be cosplayers dancing, which is hilarious at times because you see characters dancing that you would never think you would see dancing.
You see some stoic characters. You got like that stuff like Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star, just like busting.
I walked in there once and there was a Ryoka cosplayer from Kill la Kill, and she was dancing her ass off.
There you go.
On that, and I was just laughing, and that's where they also had the virtual reality game in there.
Yeah, the battle pods.
The battle pods, yeah.
The battle pods are so much fun.
Which is really cool because the first time I ever played battle pods is when I went to Houston and went to NASA because they have a big old thing in there because they have the racing game set up where you control a little ship that goes up, down, left, right, everything. But the one over there they have it's a mech fighter game.
Yeah.
And I usually win that one. I'm usually top scorer on that one.
That's stupid.
You're just mad because I'm good.
I don't do that game and you're just whatever. You can shut up.
I watched a lot of Gundam when I was young. I know what I'm doing.
Okay, you watch Gundam. Shut up. We all watch Gundam.
I could be Amuro Ray. But no, so they have those pod games that is really cool. But that was a good one though.
Yeah, because the first time we played was like it was at the new hotel at the Anatole. It was me, you, DK, and Brian, I think.
Yes.
We all four played.
But what I was leading to with that story was we were actually in the room and we were actually waiting to play because you have to wait because they only have like 6 machines.
Oh yeah.
And we were talking and we were watching random arcade machines and looking at stuff online while we were waiting, and that's where we saw the initial D.
Yeah.
One that has the actual car that moves and everything, so you feel all the drifting and G-forces. And I was like, I want to play that. I would love to play that.
See, that one I could not do. I would love to do it, but I'm like, man, don't even get me started.
But don't you want to be running in the 90s?
I mean, I can, but
we just go out together and you can hit the gas.
Well, here's the problem. If I'm going to be drifting, well, you want to see me fishtailing? Because that's what's going to happen. That's how you get me fishtailing.
I believe in you, Roger.
Okay, I'm glad somebody does. One of us does, and it's not going to be me.
But, so yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool machine that I would love to be able to see.
Oh, yeah.
We actually went somewhere that had like a watered down version of it, I think.
Yeah, so most round ones now, they do have the initial D, but it's just a bucket seat. It's like what you see, like, Cruising or the other racing games. It's just, you get the bucket seat, lean, scoot up and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, and that was
that's as far as you can get.
That's as far as it gets there, but it's just the watered down. But what's cool about those is it's linked.
Yeah,
because they have like 3. They have like 4 of them. The one that we saw. That one I think was at a Japanese arcade. I think it was at that multi-floored one, like the kind of the big old Sega building.
Yeah.
And they have one that it's got like 4 pods put together that you can race against.
That one, yeah.
But I always found it cool when you have linked up arcade games like that.
Like they did, like another one, they had the Mario Kart, same thing. Like
So Mario Kart would probably be the big one that you can easily find because they have that at the round one at Grapevine Mills. They have, I think it's like what, 4, 6 of them?
I think it's 4 now because I know they used to have 5, but one was glitching out too much, so I was like, they said we'll just get rid of this one for now.
And then the one at Parks Mall, I think, has the connected watered down initial D.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the one that I know like Phenol needs to play.
Yeah, that one they used to. Yeah,
and I thought that was pretty cool. And I've always liked this little lean together game because you're going against other people, which brings us back to like when we were talking about the GameWorks with Mike, and they had the NASCAR one, and it was like 8 of them. But when you have as much room as GameWorks used to have,
you can go.
They had 8 of those machines hooked up.
Like they had the space and the budget for that, so they could do whatever they wanted.
That place was like 3 stories tall.
Yeah,
it was 3 stories because that's I think how tall the actual shooter game that went up and down was.
Yeah,
I think the 3rd floor was like an adults only bar, and the 2nd floor they had if my memory serves right was where they had the party rooms. Yeah, and the 1st floor was all arcade games. The 2nd floor had a couple arcade games. There was it was like a lot of fighters up there.
Yeah,
but all the DDRs and everything else was on the 1st floor. But those machines are freaking huge, so they have to be on the 1st floor.
Oh yeah, you need all the space you can for those.
The other ones you can easily just elevator them up because they don't take up much room.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I always thought that was really cool is that you always had the linked up machines. And I think another cool one I saw with linked up machines, speaking of it, would be and round 1 has these. It's the fighter games, and you don't get to see each other. No, the machines are like back to back. Yeah, you can't see them because in front of you is the screen.
Yeah,
and in front of them's a screen, and you're facing each other, but there's a screen between y'all.
Yeah, you see the screen,
and that's where you can fight each other. So you don't get to see. You can't see their hands.
No,
you don't see how they're playing. So it's just one of those like you can go hardcore on that.
Oh yeah, that one you can't really. That's what I like about those machines because they're all just lined up. It's like 2 rows just back to back. That's what I like. Well, sometimes it gets a little janky every now and then because sometimes you fight the person next to you instead of in front of you. But I think pretty sure they got that fixed at one point because now it's like every time someone jumps in, like oh shit, okay, it's like you can just sit there and solo, do the arcade for a bit, just kind of dick around for a bit, and then you get that here comes a new challenger. Oh shit, and you like. And for me, when I play, I was like, I don't even bother looking because like if you're in the middle consoles, you really can't
get around anyway.
You can't even lean.
Stand up.
Yeah, you gotta stand up for that one. And even then, it's like being as short as I am, I have to jump to see over because I'm like I can't. I'm not gonna see over.
Now Roger's short, but he's shorter than me, which is not too much. I'm 6 foot. Yeah. But Roger's not a manlet size, at least.
No,
he's still standard height.
Like I'm an average size. I'm average height, but yeah, even I gotta jump. But I'm like whatever.
But I mean, it's games like that. And I wish they always have like Guilty Gear.
Oh,
they have
all
Tekken and Street Fighter and all that. I wish I could find a Dead or Alive one.
They the Parks Mall used to have Dead or Alive. I don't know if it's.
Hey, Roger, you want to play Dead or Alive?
No, you can go fuck yourself.
Roger's mad because every time we play Dead or Alive, I can beat the shit out of him.
Of course you can.
But even when I'm out of practice.
Yeah,
I honestly haven't played in over a year.
But
if I can get a little bit of practice, I'm pretty sure I can get my combos back in.
That's stupid muscle memory.
You're just mad because I love to lean into you with my Christies and my fast characters.
Ugh.
That's what makes you mad.
Terribly mad.
I will say, our buddy Jared, like I said, he was the one who's a Mr. First Person Shooter Gamer Master. He'll have a rough start, but he gets his gaming on, and that's it. And next thing you know, he's fighting and keeping up with me. That's one thing I've always liked about Jared. If you need a second, or you want to play a second to somebody who can at least carry you a bit, go with Jared. He's good like that for us.
He goes toe to toe, which is like it really impresses me a lot. I'm like, okay, take a step back here, son.
But I think another great thing was, even if you don't have Lingo, you do, of course, a lot of the arcade machines, you can do multiple people anyways.
Oh, yeah.
Like Mortal Kombat usually have 2 sticks on it. Here at the arcade, we have Mortal Kombat 2. There's a Street Fighter.
They got Street Fighter.
One, and they're right next to each other.
Oh, yeah.
Which is great because you can still have your multiplayer fights, which is fine and dandy.
Yeah, I don't mind being side by side, because that's how I grew up,
But it's fun to make Roger salty with that one.
Ugh.
You're just mad because I don't let you get perfects in Street Fighter.
Eventually, I get there.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep doing. I'm gonna get better with Dan Vicky so you can never get the joke character.
That was an insult. That will always be an insult. I don't care what anyone says.
But yeah, I mean, arcade machines, they're a huge part of our lives in general because that's what we grew up playing. In fact, before you still really started having gaming systems, that was the way to get your game on.
Oh, definitely.
You had those the Atari games and all that you had at home, but if you wanted more options, you went out there because those arcade machines were much more fancier than the actual at-homes.
Oh, definitely, because especially like for me growing up, right over here at Movies 8, we had Street Fighter.
Yeah.
And of course, my cousin, he and I would play, and my aunt would always say, "Why are you playing this? We have the game at home." Like, it's not so much the game itself; it's more or less like the atmosphere, like the cabinet, the colors. It's like, it's more to me. It's more the intensity behind it. It's like you're really getting into it. Yeah, when you're at home, you can just kind of like sit down, have some fun, but like to me, it just wasn't the same. It wasn't the same as being there.
Oh yeah, it's kind of the atmosphere of it all does put the whole thing on. It's just the idea of you're standing.
Yeah.
Because usually when games get intense, you start standing up.
Yeah,
but typically the TV's about sitting level.
Yeah.
Arcade machines are always, you have to be standing.
Because you kind of have to like really kind of stand up, kind of
Playing
lean
until
in.
you start leaning in on there. Nowadays my wrist hurt playing for too long.
Man, every now and
I don't know
then-
how I used to play for so long when I was little, but nowadays it's like my wrist hurt.
Oof, and every now and then I play Marvel vs. Capcom, I'll channel my old combo, get back in the muscle memory. It's like, man,
And
that
then
took
the
a lot
arthritis kicks in.
Yeah, just kind of stand back. That took a lot out of me. Just give me, out of breath, sweating. Like, give me a minute. I'll get back in there. Hold on, man. But yeah, so I remember like Friday nights coming over here. Like I said, I know it's not like a broken record, but the dollar movie, we would always go for the movies either before or after. You wait for mom and dad to come pick you up or drop you off. Like, hey, we got like 20 minutes. Let's go to the arcade for a bit. Just chill around, hang out until the movie starts. This is before assigned seating. This is before you bought your seats. You would go in, sit down, find a spot. If it was like 4 of you, you better hope there is at least three seats open. Maybe you got the one person sitting behind you, in front of you, or maybe one more over. Or you ask the person, "Hey, can I sit here?" Because we're kind of together. Hopefully, they're nice enough for that.
And usually a lot of people were good.
People were, they were nice enough at the time. If you came in with like a group of 4 friends,
Now, if it was like a launch movie, you're shell. Like you had to be in the theater early.
I
I could remember going back before the rave became the big seats and assigned seating. I would be there 30 minutes early.
Oh God, standing in
So
line.
the other movie had just ended. They're cleaning up, and I'm standing outside the theater already. And as soon as they're finished cleaning up, they say, "You can go sit down." I'm already inside, so I'm already sitting at my seat. What I always call my seat. Which
you
is
gotta find that perfect
center row.
You always have to find that perfect seat.
Slightly near the top.
Oh, definitely.
Because you're not looking down, you're kind of looking ahead.
It's like it's more like
and you're almost straight on with the screen.
Yeah.
And you're just like, this is it. This is my comfort right here.
Oh, definitely. Cause...
And of course, the top corner seats are always very worn in.
Oh God.
For reasons.
Yeah, it didn't.
You can't do that to work because a lot of the theaters I would go to are either some have the old fixed handrest, or they're the big cushiony seats.
Yeah.
And you can't do the back of the theater cuddles, I guess. You could call it.
Yeah, so it didn't really take me until like maybe after high school graduation, to realize, oh, that's what they would do. Oh, that's not.
Oh, girls and guys are back here necking.
It's like
that sucks. I don't want to sit in this seat.
It's like I didn't even realize at the time. I'm like, because every now if I was with some cousins or I had a lot of cousins growing up, so we they were kind of like my brothers.
A sign that Roger might actually be Mexican.
That's right. It's hard to believe. I can see my 2 of my cousins even kind of do a slight head turn, and they kind of you see like a big smirk on their face. I'm over sitting next to them, what? It's like no, don't worry about it, like nothing. They're just like, I show you the brush, no, keep watching the movie, just keep watching. I was like, okay. And I'm like looking around, I see them, the kids up there, in the corner. I don't know what they're doing, but
I hear noises.
It was funny because
looks like they're having fun.
Like, man, they're like, I don't know what's going on, but they're kind of moving a lot. And I just go back to the movie, like nothing just goes over my head.
I thought 2 of them were sitting there. Now just one of them is.
Yeah, like I said, maybe after graduation of high school.
The good old days.
It's like maybe like late teens, early 20s. Like, that's nasty. Like that's.
But yeah, so that was that's again that's a whole other topic of going back into the classic movie.
Oh God, yeah.
Theater setup, but
would I go back to that theater setup? Oh hell yeah.
Oh heck yeah! I mean that was great because if you were in a decently empty theater and you want to get comfortable, you could just knock all the seat things up and just lay across 4 seats.
You really could lift them up whoop, here we go.
I've done that a couple of times when I was waiting for a movie to start and I'm there super early, so they haven't even begun the startup credits. It was just the blank screen.
Oh God, and the lights on the sides.
And the lights are all up on it, and then I'd be laid out on the thing on my Game Boy, sitting there just playing away, kind of look at the screen every now and then to see where it was, and that's when they started doing the
background
the before.
The little slideshow thing, right?
Before, the slideshow things, talking about movies coming out, a little random movie trivia nuggets, things like that. I know some of the theaters call it a first look. I forget. I think that's Cinemark's thing.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, and then that's they always told you to keep your cell phones and because I remember those beepers and cell phones used to be part of that. Then it's just cell phones now.
Yeah. Yeah, because
the only people that have beepers nowadays are just doctors.
Yeah.
That's because they don't mess with the frequency beepers give off doesn't mess with machines.
Exactly. Yeah.
Doesn't have the same frequencies. But yeah, I mean that's what that's what you used to do. You go to the movies and you had time to kill, play arcade games.
Oh yeah, you definitely
go over there and get kicked back a couple of games, and you just when the movie's about to come up, you kind of hope you timed it right.
Yeah.
Because I've had that moment where I'm like in the zone. Going hard,
dude.
Close to the ending, and my movie's about to start in 2 minutes, and there's people already in there. I was like, oh, I hope I didn't lose my seat.
Man.
And then you start losing your copy in the game, and just like,
oh yeah, no, definitely. I'll be in the theaters with my sisters, and like she started telling me, hey, Roger, the movie's gonna start soon. It's like if you're going back, if I had a nickel, which I could have saved for Nickelmania, by the way, if I had a nickel for every time they told me, hey, the movie's gonna start, oh my god,
you'd have a great weekend at Nickelmania.
I would have a great weekend at Nickelmania. I would have a great Friday night. And you afterwards you go to Dairy Queen. But yeah, I was like, I'm like really into playing Street Fighter or Pac-Man. Like, oh shit, oh no, like Roger, come on, like no. And he's like, no, I'll just leave the game in the middle as is. Like, I always felt guilty. I hated doing that. So I'm like, well, of course, sisters got they got to take care of us, because mom and dad's like, hey, make sure you don't lose them, because
you don't lose him.
Don't lose, because it was like, because me and my twin sister, we were the babies, the itty bitty ones, so make sure you don't. Of course, sister, she was obedient, like she. It's like, okay, Jenny, come on, we gotta go. Okay, so she was kind of, following, and like, Roger, come on, I'm almost there. Come on, like, so I'm like, okay, fine. I was always in trouble one because, being the only boy.
You've always been a troublemaker, Roger.
Oh, quite.
You might notice that this podcast sounds very differently. A, we are using a new microphone, as I said it before. B, you might hear the heater keep kicking on there.
Yeah.
We are still at the Electric Starship.
It's gonna be.
But we're not in the Electric Starship.
Last podcast, Mike had discussed
Mike talked about the new happenings out there. We're actually sitting in the new area.
It's like a behind the scenes.
So you want to behind the scenes, we are actually in a completely different building next to them.
Yep.
Only between us is the wall, which we're actually kind of sitting at the spot where the hole is going to be.
Yeah.
That leads into the arcade, which we're looking at the stage. We tried to have the podcast on the stage. My cord's not long enough for the plugs.
And the plugs don't work on the stage.
And the plugs don't work on the ones that are staged left and right. But it's nice because this room actually has all the acoustic stuff in it still.
Oh, yeah.
So it doesn't have terribly harsh echo.
See, I can't wait to see these projector walls.
Yeah, no, this whole thing is already set up. Kind of giving you a little behind the scenes.
Like
What Mike does in mind, but yeah, we're looking at the stage. It's got 2 projector screens. It's got its own bathroom over here, so that adds another.
Is that what that was?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a bathroom over there.
Are they functional?
Yes.
Okay, well, it's dark, so I'm good. I mean, I don't have to go to the bathroom, but I'm just saying.
Roger, you're too old for the kukui to get you.
Well, it's dark.
But anyways,
Understand that. It's
So-
dark.
there's always that's the thing about arcades is that you had them in cool places that you could kind of kill some time and you kind of kept the kids on. I've actually seen pictures. I'm sure people might be thinking of this, but there's a couple of ladies' clothing stores that have a little arcade cabinet in there.
Really?
That can keep the husband, the boyfriend, whatever busy while the
While the
lady
women-
shops.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Kind of keeps them a little entertained. And I was like, well, that's a fun idea right there.
I don't know why. They should do that now.
See, I didn't have to worry about that because when I was little, my parents would just leave me at the arcade with my cousin,
Yeah.
and that was game. I could kill all the time in the world while they're off doing their shopping.
Yeah.
So my dad could go sit around while mom shops, and I'm just in the arcade with my cousin, getting my game on.
Oh yeah, because every now and then, cause I remember when I was a kid, I feel for my dad. I don't know how he did it. Great guy. He works, works a full-time job for
I need to borrow your dad.
leave my dad alone. Great guy. He works 40 hours full-time. But he always made time like, hey, you guys want to go to the arcade or do you guys want to go play the games? He would always make a time to take us. So I'm like, damn. It's like, I salute you, Dad. It's like, so one of these days, I'm like, man, he really went above and beyond every now and then, because
One day when you have kids,
man,
you won't have to worry about that. You're just gonna shove your phone in their hands.
Oh, no.
Another one of your phones.
Well, here's what I'm gonna do. When I have kids, I'm just taking to mom and dad's house. I'm taking to grandma and grandpa.
Jeez, you're gonna be that parent.
Look, my parents, like, you see my parents now with my nephew, they're all over him. It's just like, so they got, if they have energy enough for him, oh, believe you me, I'm pretty sure they're gonna have enough energy for my kids too. Trust me.
I'm gonna spoil your kid too and send him home, just to make you mad.
Well, that's what my parents are probably gonna do already. They already.
My dad told me he's gonna do that, so I was like, "Well, if I ever have a kid, I'm gonna try to look at it as much because if I have to take him to grandma and grandpa's house, it's gonna spoil them rotten and send them home, and then I'm gonna have to hear grandma and grandpa let me do it. Well, I'm not grandma and grandpa.
I'm your dad.
I am your father, and it's because of choices I made that you're here."
Anyway,
but yeah, I mean, growing up with arcades, it's a whole different ideal to the way it is now. Because now you see kids with cell phones in their hands nowadays.
Yeah, because
I've seen little kids like 3 and 4 with the parents' phone blaring YouTube.
Yeah, it's because now it's like, I don't know if you agree with this one, but it's like there's little to almost no trust in this day and age, if that makes sense. Like, because when we were kids, say if we went to the movies or if we went to the arcade or we go to the mall, we'd go with somebody older, like in this case an older sister, cousin. It didn't matter who. Like, it was the fact.
Or you were in a group of friends,
exactly,
and you were told to keep with the group, and the entire group would stay together anyways because you'd all be BSing around with each other.
Exactly.
That's when things opened up and you can be a completely different version of yourself.
Right.
When you have to hang out with with your cousin, because you had your cool cousins, you had your regular cousins that you had your way you acted.
And
but when you're with when you're with your friends, you're a completely different person.
Very different.
Because you had your cousin that was like, oh yeah, no, this is fun, let's go play arcade games. Then you had the cool cousin where you're over there,
the bad influence cousin.
doing the bad influence. He's beat up with his girlfriend there, and he gives you a couple extra dollars while they go next somewhere. And what are you doing over there playing games?
Oh yeah,
I'm not telling on one of my cousins right now.
We're not mentioning
one of my cousins did not do that, but I do know people who have done that.
Exactly. But it was one of the things where like the parents would do whatever they need to do, but like they had to trust enough where it was like, okay, you're gonna be here. So we're gonna come back at
this
this
is before
time.
cell phones, which is kind of weird. You think there'd be more trust nowadays with cell phones?
Exactly, because because now cause when we go to the movies, my sister and I, let's say we would watch Aladdin or Power Rangers. Yeah, I'm about to date how old I am, but it could be any movie.
I even ooze.
Exactly, and and thankfully we weren't we didn't live far from the movies, but it was like we watched a 2-hour movie. Parents would they would go nearby somewhere to eat, or they'd go sometimes they would even go back home. Just wait a little bit, and they're like, okay, the movie starts at this time. Okay, so it should be over in another 10 minutes, and then they would come up and pick us up. But once again, there was no cell phone, no beeping, nothing. We didn't have anything saying, hey, let's call them.
There was a couple extra quarters for the payphone.
Yeah, and
then I'll be honest, I use those quarters too. So
exactly. Oh yeah.
But I was always with a cousin at least. When I went out, it was either me and a group of my friends. It was me and my cousins because I grew up with a lot of my cousins.
Same here.
That's the wonderful thing about being part of a Mexican family is that since I'm an only child, I grew up with a lot of my cousins who were all the same age, pretty much. Well,
see, I only had one cousin. I was like the same age as me.
And we would just go there and we just bum around. I mean, get into all kinds of shenanigans. Kind of going back to the Mr. Gaddy's over in West Texas because a lot of my family's from West Texas. We were there. Man, this is actually, how old was I? May have been 16. Maybe 16 or 17.
Wow.
But we were at the Mr. Gaddy's. And they ran off of tokens. They didn't do quarters.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And they had a prize counter. Mm-hmm. And it was token-based games, and you can get tickets from some of those games.
I miss tokens.
But one thing I had figured out was, since you're pretty much going to a place that's being ran mainly by a bunch of teenagers and maybe one adult there who was their manager, they did their job to their standard, which means they didn't lock all the machines. Ooh. So I found that out that when we were playing the basketball game, I kind of kicked the little coin drawer. Ooh, and it wasn't locked. So it swung open. Next thing you know, next thing you know, I look down, I look at my cousin, I look at my cousin Andy, I look at my cousin Savannah, and I was like, look out for them. And I went down and I grabbed the blue tray, which was a big old honking blue bucket full of tokens. Woo! So I picked that thing up. I took my shirt, I turned it into a little bag, just poured them all in there, put it back in there, and I kind of pulled it over. And the lucky thing about being a big guy like me is a lot of your clothes got a little bit extra clothing. So then we kind of sauntered off to the back corner of the
you
arcade.
had a little bit of pudge going on back
So
there.
I had a bit more of a fatty pudge hanging a little bit more lower.
Oh,
and we went over there,
okay,
and so I was looking at it, and I was like, okay. So then I would give a big old handful, and I gave it to my cousin. Got a big old handful, gave it to my other cousin. I looked at mine, I was like, well, there's a little bit more of the handful. If y'all need more, just come let me know. So then I
Just like hide somewhere.
So then you kind of dug down, pulled it, and I just had to sit there and just chug the rest of these things in my pocket. We were probably about, it was maybe like, I guess if you could put a money count, it was probably about $150 worth of tokens that we had just split between each other.
Who laughed, son?
So I went over to a couple of the arcade games, and I just pop, just get there and play, keep going, and just going at it. And then so then we go try to do some ticket games. Now, one of my other cousins who heard about this started doing the same thing. He would go and kind of bump some of the machines, and I'm so mad I wasn't with him. He got lucky. He bumped one of the machines, and when the door opened, it was on one of the ticket machines.
So you just grabbed the ticket roll instead.
So he took the ticket roll that was set to the machine. And he was decently street smart, so he popped the little cardboard thing from the middle out
Yeah, the little roll.
and put it back in the machine to make it look like it had ran out of tickets.
I'm about to say, it's like...
And then he would walk up with this big old roll, and then him and his buddies would sit there and would fold them up into like the little Jacob's ladders,
Yeah.
like the way how you always kept your tickets.
Oh, yeah, you just kinda make
and he would pull them up into random things, scroll them up, pop it off, scroll up a bit more, pop it off, and then do like small, like 3 or 4, do large
The
chains,
long ones, yeah.
It just made it look good.
Oh, yeah,
But he had a whole roll.
Woo.
And by the end of the time, before they closed down this other arcade, I think he got the big main prize like 3 times.
Oh, wow.
One of the times it was a BB gun. One of the times it was one of the little Power Wheels Jeeps. So he got one of those.
Oh, my God.
And he gave it to one of his friend's little cousin.
Wow.
So that he could have a little Power Wheels. Because where they grew up, it was kind of a bad part of town. They couldn't have too many nice things, and that's what he did for them. So
good for him.
to kind of offset the stealing,
Well,
he did one good thing. He bought the big main Power Wheels, gave it to his friend's little cousin, so he could at least have a Power Wheels to play with him.
Well, it's like Robin Hood. Steal from the rich, give to the poor.
So yeah, he played. It was the Robin Hood.
It was Robin Hood tickets, if you think about it.
It was hilarious. I wish I was there because I would have probably came home with some of the mid prizes. I got lucky once at Chuck E. Cheese, and I was doing the. I followed because I used to watch a lot of documentaries with my mom and dad, especially my mom. My mom loves documentaries.
Yeah.
And they did one for casinos.
Oh.
And the best way to play to win.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things was watch people do in the slot machines. If you know somebody's having a huge lose streak and they leave the machine, go play that machine. Because you know what's going to happen in the next couple of rolls?
Oh,
It's gonna get a high roll,
Exactly,
and you're
yeah.
gonna get a good one. Or if you're even luckier, you roll the dice, and you got a 20, you hit the jackpot.
Yeah.
And I've actually played that rule a couple of times at like the WinStar or when I was in Vegas on some of the little machines.
Yep.
And it works. I would usually win back either the money I put into it or make at least
And then some.
10, 20 bucks out of it.
Yeah.
Except for the one time when I was at WinStar, I had no idea what I was doing. This guy had just been sitting there. I think he had done like maybe 20 rolls and wasn't doing good. And I got the secret roll, and I got a secret roll in the secret roll, and I turned a 5 into 150.
Woo!
And I was like, well, cash out.
I'm about to say, cash
And
out, man.
I'm not a gambler, so I don't keep going. I was like, I just turned 5 into 150. I'm gonna go cash out. So I cashed out, took it, got my money, and then next day I had me a whole fresh batch of cigars.
Ooh, ain't you fancy?
And it was hilarious because you do that, but you can do that with the little the teeter games where you drop the quarters in and it's little the pushers, coin pushers. Watch people playing those. If they're having a bad time on it, go drop a couple extra coins there. You usually win.
Yeah.
Chuck E. Cheese, you could get so many tickets out of that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I remember those.
You put away more tokens, but by like every token was like maybe 10, 15 tickets you would get.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you knocked over some of with the bonus stuff,
You get extra.
You're getting even more, so your payout came a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
But somebody had to play the coin pusher, or else you're the one that's setting somebody else up.
You have to, yeah. Like someone had to play that
And
role.
I'm terrible at skee-ball. I'm still terrible at skee-ball.
Oh, me too. Don't get me wrong.
I've seen people play skee-ball that's just obnoxiously good, and it's just I can't do it.
Yeah, I like playing it, but oof, don't ask me.
I've seen trick shot people on YouTube who do the skee-ball thing, and they're hitting like all the high points. And it's just like, this is bullshit. I can't do that.
They got that stupid cover, so you can't just lean to the side and just drop the ball in there.
Well, they had to put that because a long time ago when I was still little,
They didn't have that.
they didn't have that. Because the way how they had the machine set up, it was pushed against the wall and it had a little wall that kind of jutted out past it. So you couldn't get to it without obviously being on the machine.
Yeah.
Again, you're in a place that's pretty much employing nothing but teenagers, and they don't
crowded.
they don't give two damns. So what you do is, you're there with friends or cousins, got lookouts, and you're over there just boop boop boop,
Just drop them there.
and they're tossing you the balls. And you just boop 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 boop, give you more kind of boop boop boop,
You have to run
and the
back.
next thing you know, you've got the big old roll of tickets, and that's the easy way to kind of cheat the system. Not really, I say it's not really. I don't know if you can still do it now because they do got the plexiglass. They've got the cages on them now.
I mean, if you try hard, it's kind of like toss. You can kind of underhand it, but it would be more like in the middle.
No, you're working too hard at that point. You might as well start winning it.
Or you just like kind of climb in the cage and say, "Fuck it," just hey, give me the ball real quick.
Or it's like people who try to get the trick the coin machine by like kind of bumping the machine.
Yeah.
Those things are super sensitive.
Oof.
Those things are super. I once watched one guy try to do it at a. Where was I? I think it was in San Antonio, near the little like stock market area. And they used to have a place that had a little arcade in it, and they had the coin gaming because they did a ticket booth there too.
Yeah.
And I remember watching this guy. He kept bumping it. Maybe knocked two or three little tokens in, but he gave it one good hard bump, and it dropped 5 more. But then the machine just shut down.
Yeah, they
like-
put a failsafe.
I was like, that is one sensitive app machine because apparently a lot of people are doing that, I guess. But no, he did it, and then the machine just cut.
Yeah, they
And
put.
the only way we can come back is you have to go get an attendant to restart it.
Yeah, 'cause
So
I
at that
remember-
point, it's just like, well, yeah, the hell with it.
Yeah, because I remember they started putting those in because it was either because the one I remember for sure was I was at Chuck E. Cheese right over here, like off 26. They had one of those too, and same thing. I see this kid bumping it, but see he wasn't lucky as that guy where it just cuts off. Yeah, so he got the one where you bump it. Woo, 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 woo,
Oh, it starts getting off the
woo.
alarm.
Yeah, I was like, oh, like what does that sound like? Did he win? Like, I was
Nope,
like,
quite the
oh.
opposite.
Like, nope.
He's a cheating little shit.
And that's what happened. Like, so did you bump it? Like, no. I was trying to I was trying to lean in and like I think I hit with my knee and it's like or something. You know.
He tried to make it sound good.
Yeah, he tried getting the bullshit excuse. Trying to like make it like no, I wasn't cheating.
He was cheating.
No, of course, yeah. That's the only way it would go off is if you actually gave it a good a good bump, good oomph to it. Like,
Good in out.
but I mean, it's just like ugh. I still remember like yesterday, like ugh, hell no, I'm good. Like every time I hear it, like oh god.
I know that it's probably because of arcades. I think a lot of us people go to arcades. Is the reason why we're probably got some pretty good immune systems because everybody's hands are on that there.
Dude,
Control sticks would always be greasy or moist
Sticky.
or wet, sticky. It was just like, you know what? It didn't matter. You were a kid.
Oh, definitely. I guarantee people either like at the movies, Chuck E. Cheese, it didn't matter where. I guarantee those people that play those games most likely had a low grade fever of some sort. Because I know.
That's what helps you beat everything in the future. That's why I always jokingly tell everybody when we were talking about the whole the Rona situation. I was like, I don't worry about that. I ate dirt as a kid.
Yeah, exactly. I say that too. Like you're talking to a guy who used to eat dirt.
I used to eat dirt as a kid. I'm fine and dandy. Don't worry about me.
It's like you're talking to the guy who like literally sit in the mud all damn day. You tell me what's going on. You tell me what's wrong.
But
Man, but I will admit.
But as you can see, arcades bring up a lot of just great memories. You always have those things. Like I could think of multiple times with going with my cousins. I remember going with my friend. Okay, so and you may have been part. I think we've had conversation about this, but before Tilt finally left us at Northeast Mall, it was usually always empty.
Yeah.
So. And then I was already out of middle school. We were probably just getting out. We were a little bit out of high school because we were no longer in school.
No, yeah.
Well, I think you might have been doing college, but I wasn't in school. I was working.
Yeah.
But so I had my own money, so I would go down there and then go play a couple of arcade games, which was great because you didn't have to wait in line because there's nobody down there.
Yeah.
But you'd always bump into the middle school kids, always necking or going further next to behind the machine because arcades are typically always dark.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I will admit, back in the 90s, early 90s, all the way up to
you were a filthy degenerate. Just admit it.
That's where the kids would go. The kids would tell their parents, like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to the arcade with some friends," and of course, that was the spot.
Then your friends would go cover for you.
Exactly, and those were the spots. Those were the to-go places. And like, I'm not gonna lie. I'll be honest. My cousins, same thing. I had cousins that they had lady friends. They had their girlfriends at the time. Their high school fun. They would go there too. I mean, I don't know who they were. All I know is that they told me stories. Didn't really understand it, but
hey, it worked out. That's part of the reason I stopped going Tilt, because I was tired of sitting there and playing like Mortal Kombat or something like that, and then just hearing heavy breathing, and really bad making out, and I'm just like, I'm sitting there and I just going, fuck this, I'm done with this, and then just leave the arcade. And then unfortunately, I think that's part of what killed it, because there's not that many people going. If people were going, weren't putting no money into it.
Yeah, it just, it sounds bad, but as the years were going by, because in the 2000s, that's when a console was really becoming prominent. It was, blowing up.
Oh yeah, I mean, because there was the PlayStation 2 and all that. You had Xbox, and as time was going on, you started getting into the PlayStation 3s, your Xbox 360s, and it just arcades kind of started going by the wayside. You could play a couple of them on the consoles too.
Yeah,
and you could have, like one I used to play a lot on the old Xbox. I even had the stick for it.
Yeah.
Was I used to play Namco Museum.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So it had Dig Dug on it.
Yeah. Definitely.
It had a bunch of the old Namco arcade games on it, and I used to love playing that. And it's just why go to the arcade and spend money when you can just
you can get
just play it.
But they held it again. But we can just go to Blockbuster and just rent Namco Museum or rent this game. For
that's a good thing about Namco, because I bought it at GameStop for like $5.
Yeah,
and they had to use the stick controller, and I was like, I'll just buy one of those and have relive a bit of my arcade times. And sure enough, that's the way it went. And you didn't have to go to a place. You didn't have to bug anybody to drive you there. Or if you had your permit, you didn't have to worry about punching your parents or, hey, can I borrow the car to go over there? And just do it at home.
No, definitely. But for me, it's always going to be like the whole. I mean, you had to bother mom and dad to say, hey, can I want to go to the arcade? I want to go to Mania. Can we go? Or we can drop you off. But for me, I always had fun going there and just being there. For me, that's what I had.
It's the atmosphere.
Fun. Exactly.
You can't concentrate on one game because you hear 30 other games in the background.
Oh God, yeah.
You could hear, one game arcade cabinet doing the demo, and you can hear all the screaming and shooting from it there.
Oh yeah.
You hear the racing games just revving up off in the distance.
Yep.
You could hear your game because you're right in front of it.
Oh,
and then you can hear the game right next to you and the game to the other side.
Oh,
but it just adds to the whole thing.
Oh, definitely.
Especially if you went to one of the arcades that used to do like snacks and all that there.
Yeah.
So, you always had like what I always call the carnival snacks. There was always hot dogs. Like Mike has hot dog. He's got popcorn. So you can smell the popcorn.
Oh, God. I love it.
But now it's the add of beer.
Yeah. And then
you're sitting there knocking back a beer and you're just kind of like.
Shit, I mean, every now and then I just grab some popcorn and I was like, fuck, I'm gonna some popcorn. I'm gonna get some popcorn real quick. I'm like eating popcorn. I'm playing Street Fighter or something.
And Roger's the reason why the Street Fighter stick is always greasy.
You know what? You can just kiss my ass. He needs to get that stick fixed, by the way. It's all janky.
You keep saying that, but
it's loose. It's janky.
Fine, I'll play the loose stick. The loose. Again, that's video podcast, but I'm doing the rabbit quotes. Loose joystick.
Oh, well, okay.
So Roger can complain about me, not letting him get perfect.
Well, you're
while I'm
just
playing
being ugly. Now you're just being ugly right now.
You're just mad.
Well, I'm always mad.
You're just mad.
Well, I'm visibly frustrated. Not visibly. I wouldn't say visibly, but you can tell frustrated.
What would you say is some of your favorite arcade games? Like, what is the game that when you come here to the Electric Starship, you always play, or if you go somewhere, you see if they have it? For me, for a long time, it was always the Simpsons arcade game, and it was so hard to find for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
There was a couple of CCs that had it, and then once, like I said, the Mexican restaurant I used to go to, once they shut down, you just couldn't play it anymore because the place was shut down. I don't know what happened to it. Oh, but, so I would always be playing that. That was one I always looked for and hoped to play. After I played it, when Stack and Save used to have it, I always looked everywhere. It was like, what the hell was this game? And it turned out to be the Die Hard arcade game of this random guy running around in the tank top, beating up people.
Yeah,
And doing the quick times. The arcade has QTEs.
Oh,
the quick
God.
time events where you have to hit a button at the right time to either get the extra kick hit in or bypass the scene. Or if you messed up, you either took a hit or got damaged, or you had to have an extra scene.
And you had to fight the guy.
You had to fight him. That's probably one of them on there. I was always a big fan of pinball machines, just because it's the way how pinball it's more analog. I had to check my notes to see how my list went, but yeah, pinball machines it has a very strange analogness to it because everything's physical. There's a bumper it's got to hit. There's an actual metal ball bearing rolling around, or depending on the game, a little synthetic one rolling around the field, and it's kind of it takes a little bit of skill to play. Because you got to figure out where you can hit it on the bumper and where it's going to launch it. I figured that out with Batman because you can sit there and knock it into the Batcave. Like, I used to be able to do it over and over until the game would be like, stop that, blocks it, and makes you do something else.
Like, time it right, boom, boom. Like, you can repeat it like, what, 3 or 4 times?
3 or 4 times, and it was just...
And it's like, okay, that's it.
And then...
You're cheating.
Yeah, that's pretty much you're cheating at that, but... those are always games that I always played. That was my arcade games. If I was going to go somewhere, that's what it's going to be. And I'm sorry if it sounds weird, I keep kind of bumping the tables because, again, we're not in the usual room, which has a more... sturdy, static table. We're on one of the fold-out like plastic tables, and
it's like the barbecue table.
The barbecue table you pull out from when you need it, or the kids' table at the fanny thing. So
there you go.
The hollow plastic. There's your ASMR for the podcast. I'm not gonna whisper it and lick it like Amaranth does.
That's another story.
But anyways, Roger, what about you? Arcade games.
So for me, honestly, my favorite arcade games that I loved growing up was there goes that beer. It was honestly, same thing. The Simpsons game, playing at Nickel Mania, playing with my sisters. But then my other ones was always going to be, CC's Pizza was like, they had Rampage and Tekken. I'm still not that great at Tekken. Slightly better, but not that great.
No, I'm still good at Tekken.
My buddies David and Drew, they'll tell you I'm not that great. I suck at it. But when I first saw Tekken, I didn't know anything about it. I always played King because it was cool because he had he had a cat head, like
he had a cheetah's head.
Yeah, cheetah head, like it's cool. And then, but yeah, I'll play that CC's. And then my other personal favorite was, aside from Rampage, it was I just had it in my head. Oh, that's what, the Ninja Turtle games. Mm-hmm. Like that one, I don't know why. It was just like, we had the VHS, the video cassette tape of the first movie of the Turtles, and I loved it. I loved watching that movie.
So bad.
It's terrible. It's not really terrible, but if you watch it now, it's like oh my god, it really is terrible. It's dated, rubber suits. It's oh my god. CGI was not even a thing yet. It was not.
It was the infancy.
Exactly.
Because you started seeing a lot of CGI with Terminator 2 has probably some of the best standing CGI to this day. The Abyss has some good ones. Event Horizon. Things like that use CGI. It was just like...
Yeah, because the big ones like Twister, Mission Impossible.
Yeah. But then, again, this is
like, so...
start of it. So anyways, there was a lot of things that did everything, physical.
Yeah.
They had to actually make a costume.
Yeah, because it was like...
the Super Mario movie. Oh. You had had that really weird. They did his hair up just so it looked like the back end of a T-Rex's head. Because in that one it was Bowser's a T-Rex.
I think I might rewatch that movie. I'm gonna rewatch it soon. But yeah, because I remember being at my cousin's house and it was on the SNES that he had at the time, and so we played Ninja Turtles, and I never knew it was an arcade game because because growing up, all we had, mom and dad, we got the SNES, the Super Nintendo. So,
Mike has Turtles in Time, if you didn't know.
Yeah, and so I didn't know anything about it. So I just remember, the arcade game, big dudes, boom in the back, like, oh shit, like that's an arcade game. Holy shit! I was like, so
let's play it.
Like, yeah, exactly. Because like, oh wait, it's like Carol has this, or Lester had that game when he was playing. He rented it. Yeah. It's like, oh, let's go play it. And so I'd always playing that game was always fun, So honestly, those 4 games would honestly be my favorite memories of growing up in the arcade, at least in the arcade, because it was just one of those games where it's like, yeah, I can get it, but just being there and just doing the whole getting frantic with it, being young, being a kid, it's just I don't know, man. To me, it's just a reminiscent. I loved it. I would definitely go back to those days again if I could.
Oh yeah. And between those, and I think my favorite type of arcade game was always the light gun games.
Speaking of light gun games, was it Time Crisis 2?
So I used to love playing Time Crisis. Time Crisis I played for the first time at a arcade at there was a bowling ring.
Yeah.
That some of my family friends used to go to and bowl. And since I wasn't a bowler, I just go to the arcade.
Yeah.
And since I was the older one, I used to go there with the youngins and look over them, which was easy because they'd all get glued to one game, and then it was right next to the Time Crisis. So I was like, okay, I usually just watch them and sit there and shoot away because they'd sit there and spend all their quarters trying to do the crane game. Yeah. Because they had candy.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Dude, I love it.
So I'm sitting there just playing Time Crisis, and they're sitting there getting mad playing it there. And I had to worry about it because just outside the arcade that's where everybody else was sitting playing the bowling.
And you could just like turn around and see, oh, there they are.
And see, then one of them was like out of quarter, so he'd run off. I was like, hey, he's going to get more quarters. All right, and then bang, 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 get back to my shooting. And then, unlike Police Enforcer, where you had to try to shoot everything before it shot you, Time Crisis added in the whole thing of being able to duck.
Yeah.
So you actually got a pedal that you could step to stand up and do your shoot, and then duck down. It would reload the gun, and you could dodge bullets and damage.
Shoot off screen, reload, shoot off screen.
Yeah, because like Area 51, Lethal Enforcer, Carnival, things like that, shoot off screen to reload the gun.
Yeah.
Virtual Cop used to do that. Virtual Cop was another fun one.
Yeah,
my cousin had it on the Sega Saturn.
I love Sega Saturn. I don't care what anyone
play
says.
that.
I'm gonna buy one soon.
He had Virtual Fighter too, and that's even more of a throwback because everything was in 0G.
That's my guilty pleasure fighter.
But so Time Crisis in its series was always fun. I never played the first one. I could never find a cabinet for it.
Yeah, I never knew if there was a first one, to be honest.
But what I really got into is after I played it there, I was like, this is awesome. And then when I had a PlayStation 2, I actually found out that they have it as a light gun game for the PlayStation 2. So one Christmas, I guess I hit the lottery because I got like a couple $100 in Best Buy gift cards from several members of the family.
Woo,
so I was like, I'm going to Best Buy. So I bought the original PlayStation 2 iToy.
Oh, wow.
And I bought Time Crisis 2 and 3 with the light guns. So I had 2 light guns.
See, I didn't know you needed the iToy for that one because...
No, you can't use the iToy. I just had an iToy.
Oh, you just had... Oh, okay.
So that's really good. That's where I played so much Time Crisis.
Right.
I played the crazy amount of time. I played the game so much, I unlocked everything.
Wow.
I had the infinite pistol without reloading. I had infinite alternate weapons in Time Crisis 3. So you had to regain ammo. You always had it. So you could beat the game super quick with the grenade launcher, by the way.
Shit. Okay. I feel like it kind of goes without saying.
I unlocked the shotgun in Time Crisis 2. And then every time I would go to the arcade and go play it, I could just go blare to that game because I knew everything. Because I knew where all the enemies would pop up.
Yeah.
I knew where the red guys, because the red guys were the ones that would always shoot you. They would always be on target.
Yeah.
So I could blare through the arcade game without taking damage, without losing quarters, and always have a high score. And then I got out of practice from it. Right. But that also attributes to why I've always been the gun guy. So it was always easy for me to get the accuracy down. Because then I found out that when we went to round 1 over in Arlington Mall.
Parks Mall,
they have the Olympic shooter game.
Yeah.
And I found that game and I played it and I set the high score.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I remember. That was fun. I'm like, I walk past it. Oh, he's over there. He's fine. Babysitting the kids again. I walk past. Like, oh, he's fine. He'll go back. Boom. As soon as we leave, like, you ready to go? Boom. As you finish the game, I was like, all right, we're going home. Like, look at the score. Like, what the fuck?
Well, yep, I did it. Set the high score. And then since it had that region code connection on that there, I think I was like the highest, but I think the region was probably like maybe 2 other arcades in the area. So I had the highest score. I was like, yeah, I did it. I didn't put ass. You couldn't put ass in that game.
Obviously. Well, I
was so happy with that, so I put my initials. So if you ever go to the Park Small arcade and you play it and you see anything that has the RNF initials, if I'm still on the top, that was me.
I'll be very surprised if it's...
That was me.
I'll be very surprised if it's still there. But at the same time, I won't be.
I won't be because there's always somebody that's going to come up there. It's like when I play Dead or Alive online. It's because I can do really good when I'm playing against a lot of my friends or anybody who like wanting to go play the tourney. Yeah. And I can sit there and just lean to everybody. I play online and then I turned it up to where you can fight the diamond and platinum players, and I just get my ass picked up on the game and mailed to me.
It's like, here you go, it's not a silver platter right there. Like, there's a reason why I'm like,
and I got guys that are going, flawlesses on me. I'm just like, well, this sucks. I'm tired of this game.
Like, well, you just told me how much I suck. Thank
you. There you go. I turned it back down to where I'm either with people with my score and lower, and I just, start wrecking everybody. I was like, oh yeah, I feel better about myself now.
Well, you're in the in-between where it's like, you're better than them, but yet you can't, it's not enough to take on the big kids yet.
Yeah, I'm still stuck to those little kids in the kiddie pool. What about you? So, like I said, I love light shooter games.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely, yeah. I remember when I first came across Time Crisis 2, like, that was like, holy shit, that was like my favorite all-time game to kind of go into. And the funny thing is, same thing, I was able to find it, but I found my copy so much later because I didn't realize, when you had to play Time Crisis, you kind of needed the old gen TV, like the old CCTVs. Because when we had our TV, we had one of it wasn't fancy, but it was one of the newer gens. It was like not quite flat screen, but it was the simple the digital kind really.
Oh yeah.
So we had that TV. I'm over here realizing I plug in everything. Unfortunately, everything's still in the back. The cables weren't long enough to reach, so I kind of had to be really close. But the problem is the gun con would never read. It couldn't read because obviously it's not.
The TV wasn't pick up. Yeah,
exactly.
How it was set. And which is weird because that was the thing about light gun games is that they had a weird coding. Like if you ever look into how like Duck Hunt works, for like a single frame, everything goes black, and where the duck is has to match up with the little kind of camera sensor inside the gun. Yeah. So that if you want to know how Duck Hunt works, you know how it works. That's how it works. Yeah. The gun works as a camera in a sense, and it picks up to see if it's looking at the white square or not. Yeah.
Like
so where the duck is.
It's like a little tracer. Almost like a little tracer.
I think it's 2-player if you didn't know. Duck Hunt is a 2-player game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody can control the duck.
Yeah. Which
you can change the flight path.
Flight path. Yeah.
I can speak English.
I found that out maybe middle school years. Yeah. So this is years after the NES.
So see, I always thought your favorite would be like fighting games. I can always see you. I can always find you playing Street Fighter. If I can't find you in an arcade, it's like you're probably playing a fighting game.
So definitely fighters are my go-tos. Usually for more arcades now because when I was being a kid, I go to Mexico a lot with my family, and so I go to aunt and uncle's house, and they had the Super Nintendo, and of course we played Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, and sometimes we played King of Fighters. Which I think at the time it wasn't King of Fighters. I think it was Fatal Fury. I could be wrong. I'm not gonna lie.
SNK.
Yeah, it was SNK based. But yeah, it was. We would just be in the living room just playing Street Fighter all day. Me being 7, 8 years old. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just button mashing, hoping for the best. Of course, I'm crying because I'm losing a lot. You got the aunt coming hey. Let him win one. Well, he doesn't know how to play. We're trying to let him win, but he doesn't know how to play. And they're over here doing the combos.
Get good, scrub.
And yeah,
well, to be fair, you did get good.
Well, yeah, I did, yeah.
You had to.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Now I'm and I'm pretty sure, my cousin's listening, and they're like, what the hell is he talking about? Oh, yeah, because, because it was always an occurring thing, especially Thanksgiving, when Thanksgiving comes around.
All the families together,
yeah. And you got the kids in one room, and we're all sharing, one Nintendo and 2 controllers, and you got 10, 15 plus kids. So it was always going to be loser outs, take turns, or if we're playing, we'd all play different games too. But when it came to the arcades, I like playing Time Crisis, but being at home, my big thing was definitely fighters because just playing with the cousins. Every now and then I got that one good cousin. Hey, if you want to try that thing he did, or that if you want to do the fireball or the uppercut, try do this input because I'm like. Because
quarter
back
circle forward and punch kick, wasn't it?
Exactly, yeah, quarter circle forward and punch.
Yeah, that's a good old Hadoken.
Exactly, and that was the thing though, and here's the worst part about that. Once again, like Mike said, we had no internet, so we couldn't Google or look up, hey, how do you do the fireball or how do you do the hurricane kick? It was either magazine or word of mouth. And before
and word of mouth get usually from another magazine.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, people that knew how to do it, they didn't tell you where they got it, or
they never did.
And they never did, or they wouldn't tell you how to do it first, because they were gods amongst us, peasants, because they knew how to do it. Once they figured out, oh, this is how you do it.
Well, see, I'm young enough to remember going to school one day, and the nerdy kid in our class became the most popular kid in the class because he found out that you can plug your computer into your phone connection and get internet access, and he was able to print out all the fatalities from Mortal Kombat.
Wow.
So he had a folder of all the fatalities and all the movesets for and everybody wanted it. But he would not let nobody use it. He would not let anybody hold it, nobody take a look at it. He would open it up and hold it himself, and he would point to where everything was, and people would have to copy it down.
Right as fast as they can. Because, man, I remember having journals of, just fatalities, cheat codes. This is before GTA cheat codes. It was I'm writing down for, Spyro, GoldenEye, just, if I can find these old journal pages, and there's, pages I would write it, tear it out, keep them in my pocket later on. I would, don't know if you remember how some games would come in like a plastic case. It was like a foldable case, but they were like a special lock that you had to kind of like pull it and pry it open like that. Yeah, I had one of those cases, and I would put all my cheat codes, Spyro codes, the GoldenEye, the Smash, just put them all in there. It's like close it up. Okay, I'm gonna play Spyro. I want to do Big Head. Open it up. Okay, here, just close it back up.
So every game back in the day used to have Big Head.
Oh yeah, dude, I love doing Big Head.
GoldenEye had Big Head.
Dude, GoldenEye, Big
Every
Head,
game had a
paintball.
Big Head.
But man,
Paintball mode was big with Perfect Dark.
yeah, oh yeah, paintball. That was so much fun.
I used to love playing the paintball because you just little paint spots everywhere. Same principle of the game, but
Yeah.
paint spots everywhere.
But it was just one of those. It was just one of those things where it's like we were just that dedicated. Like we want to keep these. I mean, now you can just go online. You can
You gotta look it up. You got GameSpot. You got everything online for options. And there's all these different game cheats. There's cheatcodes.com. Still has a lot of that there.
I just remember
and I still can remember a lot of the GTA cheat codes. I still
Yeah.
partially remember the weapons cheat code. I still remember the health cheat code. And then since I've been playing the remaster of San Andreas, I've been super tempted to do it. It was like, I got to get to the game first.
See, I'm the other way around. Like I said, fuck, I already played it once. I'm just gonna go ham on this game just because I can.
Well, I want to do it because I want the achievements.
Fair enough. That makes sense.
And when you do a lot of cheat codes, they cut the achievements.
Oh yeah. That's what I did for Saints Row. I'm like, I said, screw the achievements. I'm just gonna go balls to the wall.
That game gets weird, Saints Row.
I crashed that game so many times.
No, that game used to crash a lot. Which is another funny thing because one thing that can happen is arcade games do have the ability of crashing.
Yeah, they did.
I don't know how it wasn't. I don't think it was as bad with the old arcade. I probably have to double check with Mike on that. It's about crashing with the old arcade games, but like new arcade games, which are just pretty much just running like computer ROMs.
Yeah.
Because every now and then, like you'll find one that has a Windows 2000 logo or
It was like displaying out, displays out of order.
Saying that there was an internal error.
Yeah.
With such and such file, and it's like whoa.
Yeah,
It's got that weird kind of behind the scene look of it all.
Yeah, so I'm like, what do you do in that situation? Because here, sometimes, like when the old arcades, when it's funny when they crash. When old school arcades is like, it's not like PC's like internal error or like can't display. It's just like the whole thing's just you see like the screen just kind of all janked out, pixels everywhere. Like, wow, it's like something just puked in there. But okay,
Computer just puked, so
yeah. And so and then from there, you like, hey, you gotta like do something. Either they would unplug it, turn it off, or just put a sticker over saying, hey, out of order.
Got the Wreck-It Ralph. I'm sorry, but this arcade is sick right now.
Yeah, because I remember those stickers. I remember seeing those, on the big screen, on the front screen of the cabinet, saying, "Hey, it's out of order." I remember being disappointed sometimes, like, "Oh, you can go here. I want to play this game, like,
but
out
it's
of order." Me being a kid, I didn't understand like out of order. Like, cousins told me, "Hey, it doesn't work." Like, well, hey, it's not working right now. Like, oh, and that would make me sad. I'm like, oh, well, it's like they'll say next time. Next time we'll play next time. Like, it's like okay, and then you do play something else.
Yep, but pretty much, that was our memories with arcades, and that's how it comes down to. I'm glad Mike's still part of that because being the owner of an arcade now, which is a weird idea of thinking of owning an arcade and running it.
He's living our dreams.
He was able to join us in and give us an insight on what it's like to be that. So
yeah, I'm glad he's got open because he's living our dreams right now.
It's nice because I can go back and reminisce.
Oh, definitely.
But kind of winding down a bit there. Kind of we're doing to the closing right now.
Yeah.
We're actually not sponsored. Like I said, we're not sponsored by anybody.
We're just doing this because we want to do it.
It's fun. It's easy to do. I'll probably do a mini cast of my setup for what I use to do everything, and we'll kind of go from there. One day we'll have a video, but like I said, we're not sponsoring anything. So we just thought it'd be funny and a cool little thing that we talk about the drinks that we have during the podcast. It changes most of the time. I'll have something different. Like today was a Coors Light day. I felt like Coors Light.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, definitely.
If we get sponsored, you'll tell because they'll probably stick to one style. So it'll be like any of the craft beers like Martin House makes. But
definitely.
Or if we got anybody else, then that's what it would go down to.
Oh yeah.
But selling out in some cases is not a bad thing because sometimes it needs the funding. You just got to get yourself up and running.
But for us, it's like it's just a hobby. For us.
Easy.
We like doing
it's easy. I literally have put maybe like $100 into this whole thing, and that's mainly on microphones, just sound equipment, really.
Yeah.
And it's not even like I say, it's literally 2 microphones that I own.
That's all.
The one that you currently are hearing me on right now, which they made by the same company who does my original mic, and it's just a conference mic.
Yeah.
So that's why you can hear everybody around us a lot instead of like the Halloween podcast where Roger needs to speak up.
Apparently.
But,
still,
but like I said, it's very easy to set
whatever,
up.
I don't care.
So you can call it a sellout moment or not, but hey, sometimes you just got to do it. You want to have cool stuff to happen.
But we're, like I said, we're not here.
We do enjoy doing this. It's a fun little hobby, most definitely. We have gotten some things that we do have a Twitter up and running.
Yeah.
So it's the @DFWAV Club. I'm going to put the information inside the little information box at the bottom of the video when I get this uploading and edited.
The description.
Yeah. But so my next plan is, as I've been talking about, you may have heard, is we have podcasts kind of like this one is dedicated to a single topic.
Yeah.
And if you're anyone, we have a new subscriber, by the way. We're up to 12 now.
Woo!
But if,
I'll drink to that.
if anyone wants to join in, if you're a later subscriber and you want to join on it there, we are always down to take an idea and do a podcast on it.
Definitely. Any
So
ideas,
hit us up on the
conversations
Twitter,
you wanna bring in?
put it in the comment section of an idea of what you may want to hear about.
Yeah.
Like I said, we found out last time that Mike is a huge Star Wars fan, so we're definitely going to have a Star Wars podcast.
Definitely.
I'm a huge action movie fan, so we're definitely going to have an action movie podcast.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, we could settle down to a single topic on that there. Heck, if you want to hear Roger ramble for an hour about Offspring and a music podcast,
Oh God,
we'll do it on that there.
I wanted to do that last couple weeks ago, but I got sick, so I couldn't do it.
It's all right.
It made me sad.
It's okay.
But yeah.
But yeah, something like I said, if you have an idea for a podcast, put it out there. We'll be more than happy to take a look at it, see about doing it. As I said, we're still very in infancy podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Not too many people. We do appreciate everybody who's already subscribed to the channel.
Yeah.
We're going to look to definitely spread it out more. There's going to be more posts to the Twitter every here and there. We'll probably start getting some behind-the-scenes pictures and kind of showing you where we're getting pictures that we use for the podcast, which I messed up on the last podcast picture. Because it was supposed to say Electric Star. It was supposed to say, you have the feature Electric Starship, and it had the symbol, but I posted the wrong picture. But as everybody knows, we always talk about it.
Yeah.
We again want to thank good old Mike Woods, Captain Mike of the Electric Starship,
Oh, yeah.
for allowing us to use his space to do a podcast. We don't have to be piled into my room. We don't have to be piled into Roger's room to be able to do it.
Yeah.
We actually have a venue to do it. We have another person that comes in with us that can join in on it there. Good old Captain Mike. Kind of he's not much more old than us, but he's kind of the elder statesman of us in the whole group idea of it.
I
We
love
do get
it.
other people that join us, and I'll definitely get more friends. Or if we have anybody else that may want to join in on it there, that will definitely get more on the podcast.
Definitely.
And then if we get enough into it, we probably get some other more cooler people on here. Like we can get some voice actors or somebody more major into any of the.
Can you imagine we get some voice actors in here?
I'm going to have to peel you away from annoying Kyle Hedberg, asking him constantly if he remembers getting drunk with you that one time while he's on the stage talking about Dragon Ball.
My first Matsuri. That's going to be a podcast for another day.
So we are going to have, we do actually have a full podcast that we're going to do for a convention. Most likely at the convention.
Well, we're going to try to at least.
But when I say at the convention, trust me,
you'll know.
It'll be at the convention. You'll find out exactly how I mean. Because like I said, my whole setup is very guerrilla, so I can get this set up pretty quickly.
Although I will say, if we do a convention, we have to find a small corner where it's not as rigorous.
Match should be easy because they have the third floor and nobody's up there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If you see us and you're watching, if you're a fan of the podcast and you see us doing a on the floor podcast and you want to come say hi while we're podcasting, I have no problem with saying hi.
Just jump on in, man. Just say hi.
Jump on in, say hi. If you want to, kind of join on a discussion, definitely do so. I mean, we'll definitely do what we can. The only thing we ask is, of course, try to be cordial enough on the fact that you're on a podcast with us.
Yeah, we're simple people, but we still have be courteous, be kind.
As I said, we're not a political podcast. We don't like to discuss politics on it. There,
that's a big no for us.
Everything that's like a huge kind of personal choice thing, we're not going to get too deep in. We're mainly just this. We love movies. We love games. We love anime. We love music. We're like everybody else. Everybody else also has their preferences and everything. Yep. So if you want to join us in a conversation, you see us, we might even have a sit down and ask us a question if people have become interested enough in us.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm down for a small mini Q&A that's not really registered for the god.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how long we hold the podcast before they kick us off the floor. If they kick us off the floor.
It's like, sir. You have to get step away, please. Oh shit!
Next thing you just can see me and Roger kind of crab walking down the way with all the gear, just
wires dangling, scuffling on the mic. Oh shit! But
So like I said, hit us up. That was a couple ideas we have for podcasts. If you have some other cool ideas for podcasts that you want to join in, throwing it in there most definitely.
Feel free to hit us up, man. And
one day we'll definitely be able to run a live podcast option because I definitely want to do a live podcast so we can have some audience throw in participations.
Definitely. I would love to see that one day.
And we'll kind of get going, and then like I said, hopefully we'll have more. Again, we get a couple of our friends that join us, not just me and Roger that do the podcast. Our buddy Cody joins us.
Yeah.
I'll see if anybody else wants to join in with us. We got a couple people who've actually asked to be on the podcast that are regulars here.
Well, hell, we got one guy next door right now. He's ready. His topic is like, I got a bunch of crazy stories. We definitely want to do that. I'm like, hey man, you know what? We'll give him a talking to.
He's a big old because you think he did some roadie stuff and all that there. So it's always interesting when you kind of hear about groupie roadie stuff.
And so, like I said, that's something ideas like that. I mean, because we're also here at the arcade almost like every weekend, every other weekend. So if you see us and you know who you are, hey man, just come
hit us up, say hi. I will sign most anything. If you actually want anything signed by me, then I will sign most anything.
Sign it now. That way, once we get big, it'll be awesome. Or not. Hey. Maybe it's cool.
See how it goes.
Moral,
either way, like I said,
the moral support.
It's a good bit of fighting. And if anybody asks me to sign anything, I'm probably going to turn red and not know what to do with myself after. Like,
well, it depends on
why do people like me all of a sudden?
Well, it depends on what they want signed.
I'll sign a basketball. I'm not a basketball player, but I'll sign a basketball.
Fair enough.
I'll sign a person. Heck, you've got a knife signed once.
I did get my pocket knife signed. That was.
But anyways, like I said, that's the whole thing. And then we definitely have a podcast for cons coming up that will kind of give some good insight. If you've never been to a convention on that, about convention stuff,
definitely,
especially a survival guide. Shower.
That's
the whole podcast. Shower.
So shower. That's gonna be a really big 101.
But anyways, like I said,
cons, shower, please.
So we're gonna let y'all go get back to your day. This podcast is getting long enough for a lot of people. So y'all take it easy. Thanks for joining us once again. And my name's Nate.
And I'm Roger, even though I came in late, but I just want my beer.
And of course, Captain Mike was with us there of the Electric Starship earlier. So
thanks
again for listening, and again thanks for letting us join in. And y'all take it easy. See you at the next podcast.